The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Saturdays or Sundays, SOR Media, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this broadcast or podcast without the express written consent of SOR Media is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised. Are you experienced? Then come own the night with us.
Little brother has taken control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all
stationed atop the mountains of British Columbia, live from SOR headquarters. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong.
You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, and on Spaced Out Radio on iTunes. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio.
Brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized.
It's Wednesday, September 5th, Thursday, September 6th, if you're on the East Coast or across the pond. And this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night. I am your host, Dave Scott, broadcasting to you live on this hump day from the Great White North on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We are 150,000 strong nightly on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio, and we welcome you to tonight's show. And if you want to take part on our archives and take a listen, they are free on our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, shop at our store, read up on the encounter online, and so much more. Don't forget, you can get your tickets right now for the first annual Cari-Boo Paracon, presented by Spaced Out Radio, September 28th through 30th. Go to questers.ca. That's questers.ca. Click on the fall conference. Get your tickets right now. Our featured speakers, Grant Cameron, Lorien Fenton, David Weatherly, Ross Allison, and so many more. Tonight's show is brought to you by the YouTube channel Ensuho. Sebastian Martin brings high-quality messages to the masses. Go to spacedoutradio.com and click on the Ensuho banner and subscribe to the channel today. We made it to Hump Day, so it's time to talk a little bit of UFOs. Because coming up later this month, as I just mentioned, is the Cari-Boo Paracon, brought to you by Spaced Out Radio right here in central British Columbia. One of our featured guests at this event, September 28th through 30th, is the lovely and talented Lorien Fenton, and I'm so honored to be able to call her a friend. Lorien's knowledge and research regarding everything from government cover-ups to super soldiers, MK Ultra, disclosure, and connections to groups such as MUFON is quite superior to many other researchers in this field. A radio host as well, Lorien is clear about getting the information that she acquires out to the public, whom she feels has a right to know what is going on. So tonight we're going to talk with Lorien about MUFON, UFOs, To the Stars, and what she will be speaking at this year's first annual Cari-Boo Paracon. Lorien Fenton, always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio, my good friend. Thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Oh, God, Dave, I'm great. Oh, my God, what a great introduction.
Oh, you just stop. You'd stop.
Oh, I can't believe I sit here. I'm blushing. It was so good. I'm doing wonderful. Yeah, MUFON, To the Stars Academy, all that stuff. Oh, my God. Last night I'm laying in bed, I'm going, which presentation am I going to do for the Paracon? I've got five presentations. I got one on To the Stars Academy. I got one on Bob Bigelow alone. I've got one about my experiences growing up, being psychic and all that stuff. And then I've got the ones about, my experiences with the super soldiers. And then I've got another one I'm developing about the JFK assassination. So, I've got all this stuff and I just don't know where to even begin. So I thought what we'd do tonight is we'd have the audience pick what I need to talk about. What do you think?
Sure.
Do you think
absolutely. That would be great. So if you're in one of the chat rooms tonight, okay, we're going to do a little poll. What do you want Lorien to speak about at the Cari-Boo Paracon?
Yeah, let's make it real clear. The first one is all about To the Stars Academy and my vision about what they're really trying to pull on us. The second one is all about Bob Bigelow and what he's done over the years. The third one is my life growing up as a crazy psychic and all the things I encountered, like ghosts and all kinds of stuff. And then the fourth one would be on how I became the den mother to the super soldiers.
Well,
so
I think that's a great
soldier,
list.
Psychic, Bob Bigelow, or To the Stars Academy. Let's do those four, because the JFK one's not quite ready yet. And let me just tell you, folks, the JFK one's all about the women surrounding the JFK assassination.
And a lot of them there are.
I sat down one day and I went, oh, my God, there are probably more women than men involved in this whole thing. If you take all the mistresses in account, just that we're sleeping with JFK right there, we have more than there were shooters.
My goodness. We got a couple of votes for Team Stump. So we got a big thing going around here on whether Devil's Tower from Close Encounters of the Third Kind is really a rock formation, volcanic formation, or if it's just a giant tree stump. And so Spaced Out Radio is on the side of giant tree stump.
I think that's hysterical. And you know what? It does look like a giant tree stump. I hate to tell you, folks, it could be a giant petrified tree. Who knows? I think it's hysterical. I love that place, though. It's so cool. Every time I see it, I think of those mashed potatoes and Richard Dreyfuss. My God.
How can you not think of the mashed potatoes?
It burned into our brains, didn't it? It's one of those things, So, anyhow.
For sure.
Yeah.
My friend, what have you been up to? Because you know what? Let's start off with the Cari-Boo Paracon first and foremost. I am very excited to get you up here, and I think I have bragged enough about my area that, you're like, well, you better damn well invite me up to your Cari-Boo Paracon. And, you had me come down in March to speak at the UFO con that you put on in San Francisco. And to have you now come up here and address our audience in my area where I get to show you where we live and kind of broadcast the show. I am so excited to have you coming up here.
I know it's going to be very, very interesting because, I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and we were kind of out in the country. We weren't in Multnomah County proper downtown. We were out in Tigard. I don't know if very many people know where that is. It's on the way to Salem. It's, the outskirts of Portland. We had a small farm. I grew up there. So whenever I get a chance to go anywhere where there's trees and animals and anything's better than the San Francisco Bay Area when it comes to that. But I do live in an area kind of like that where I'm at now. I'm in Petaluma, California, and it's very country, but it's still a city, and I'm still living with houses right next to me. So I know when I get up to, is it 100 Mile House? Is that where we're going? Yeah, I know when I get up there.
Well, just north of it, in 108 Mile Ranch.
108 Mile Ranch. Oh my God, we're going to be out in the middle of nowhere. Bigfoot is like our neighbor, right? I mean,
oh, for sure, for sure. You know what? I have to tell you this: the Spruce Hill Resort and Spa, where we're hosting this event, beautiful, beautiful, 13,000 acre facility, and I was out there because
13,000 acres.
13,000 acres. It's massive.
It's like a hunting lodge, or I mean, what do they do?
No, it's like
acres.
You know what? Back in the heyday in the 90s, they used to have this used to be a Hollywood getaway. So people like Tom Cruise, Tom Hanks, Cuba Gooding Jr., John Travolta, numerous big time A-list Hollywood stars would fly their private jets into the runway right across the street. Right across the highway from the resort, and then they would come and stay in the cabins there.
Wow!
Like it was massive back in the 90s and early 2000s. And, since then, ownership has changed and directions have changed. And, I don't know if that's been for the good or not. But the winter wonderland that it is, I mean, you go outside, there's a bar right there. There's a mini ski hill, a tube ride. It's very popular with cross-country skiers. So the other day, I'm out there because my wife helps run the place. And,
excellent!
And so I go there and I go clean up the trails and I take down a bunch of dead trees for my own personal firewood use, but it helps them out too, and I don't mind that, and I get free wood. Anyways, I go through there, and Tanya, one of the ladies who works with my wife there, she's like, Dave, just so you know, on the north side here, we're having troubles with a bear, and there's like some coyotes or something over there, so just be aware. And if you head south, watch out, because there's been a wolf pack around there, and I think they got a fresh kill somewhere in there, so they're kind of defending their kill territory. So I'm like, oh, okay, didn't see anything. Didn't see anything, but nonetheless.
Yeah, well, you didn't want to be out there at night, I'll tell you that. Those wolves and coyotes will get you. Oh,
yeah, that's the best part, because definitely it's total Sasquatch area, and it's built right along the original Gold Rush Trail. So one of the ghost hunts we're going to be having at the Paracon is actually on the site where the old Gold Rush Trail was. And apparently,
cool.
And apparently, people have seen chuck wagons and people on Clydesdales walking that trail, and have seen ghosts and entities. So we're gonna do that night. And
God, that's great. Now, I forgot to ask you this, and I guess we're going to do it live on air. Do I need to bring a bunch of winter clothing?
Well, considering
is it cold at
considering
night?
It's getting down to about high 40s, low 50s at night. If not lower 40s, I would say bring some warm clothes.
Yep.
It's always good. It's always good.
Okay, great.
So make sure you do that.
And I'm definitely going to be looking forward to seeing some ghosts and maybe, leaving Sasquatch some apples or, do they like bananas? I've never tried bananas yet.
No idea.
Apples.
No idea. But we're going to have people like we're doing it. Have you met Michael W. Hall?
No, I have not.
Okay, Michael W. Hall is Peter Davenport's lawyer, and he runs the UFO I-Team in Washington State. And he will be up with his team to conduct the UFO Skywatch. Like last night after the show, we get a lot of moonless nights up here, Lorien. A lot of moonless nights.
That's perfect.
So last night after the show, I'm talking to Everett Thiemer after the show, and I go outside and I go stand on my patio, and literally there was hundreds of thousands of stars out last night. It was incredible, and they were all shining, had the Milky Way running right over top of the house here. It was phenomenal.
Excellent. Excellent.
You
I
have
can't
a
wait.
Beautiful,
God, I
beautiful
hope
way.
I can, scrounge up maybe at least one pair of night vision goggles to bring up with me. I'll see. I'll see if I got any friends that will loan me a pair for the trip.
I think
Wouldn't that be great?
I think you should.
Gotta have it. Well,
Absolutely.
anyhow, so okay, so we're gonna have a lot of fun at Paracon, and tonight your listeners are going to decide what I'm going to speak on.
Okay,
which
give
I think is gonna be very fun.
give those topics again. You got you got Robert Bigelow.
Yeah, Robert Bigelow just by himself. I can do an hour on him easy. And then we've got To the Stars Academy and Robert Bigelow thrown in at the end. So that gives you all the players in To the Stars Academy, what I've been able to find out about them, which is, God, I hate to say it, not a whole lot, and which leads me to a lot of theories and hypotheses that I talk about during this presentation. And then I want to talk about either myself growing up and all my psychic experiences. And that could be like 2 or 3 hours worth of stuff right there, because you guys wouldn't believe what I could tell you in this. Just one of the stories is about being saved by my troll doll after the guys in the car blew dope smoke on it, and I had a vision that we were going to crash, and I saved everybody. So that's one of them. I mean, there's hundreds of them like that. And then the fourth one would be how I met the super soldiers. What happened to me that got me so angry I decided I was going to put on the Super Soldier Summits, and about Max and Duncan O'Finian and just all the players at the time when I was putting this whole thing on. Also about what happened to us in Henderson when we were in a mass abduction, and what happened to Michael Hemmingson shortly after, and all the people that have died since the conferences. Yeah, it's quite an interesting presentation. It's, and at the end, I truly say that I think that all of us are blessed. I mean, there's a component of people messing with the wrong people, and that's all I'm going to tell you about. And I explain what they did and what happened to them because of it. So that's part of that presentation. And that's a pretty heavy presentation, but it's stuff people need to know. And which leads me into some of the things I wanted to talk about tonight. So has everybody got that? It's To the Stars Academy, Bob Bigelow, me, just little old me, and some of my UFO experiences go in with that just me category, and then the Super Soldier category. So those are.
So if you're on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio, or you are in one of our chat rooms, make sure you say which one you want, and Lorien will present it at the and Lorien will speak it at the Cari-Boo Paracon.
Yeah, we're opening night on Friday night, correct?
You are the closing speaker on the Friday night before we get ready and go to the first ghost hunt.
Oh, okay, perfect. But I'll be on Friday evening, so they can decide if they want heavy stuff on Friday night, and I'm sure they'll get much lighter things on the rest of the weekend.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I don't want to scare anybody, though, but, the Super Soldier one is one of my favorite ones to present.
Well, right now I'm going to say that's leading. That one
is
leading.
It? Yeah,
that one is leading.
I figured it would. Yeah.
That one is leading with your personal experiences number 2 right now.
Yeah. See, that's how important To the Stars Academy is, right? Sorry, guys. But, it's the truth. And, since it's not leading it, maybe we should talk a little bit about it tonight, because if I'm not going to do a presentation on it, I'd love to talk about them, because I've been really kind of pulling my hair out about these guys. Did everybody see the new, God, I don't know what to call it, like a promo fluff piece from Tom DeLonge about how, it's like, really, what are these guys doing? I mean, if you ask yourself the question, what are they doing with $4.2 million of all these investors' money? They're making movies, they're doing books, and what they're doing behind our backs and not talking about is they're going to the government, and they've gotten $500,000 from the Senate just recently, the United States Senate, to start pursuing defense of outer space. Mm-hmm. And
well, you know what? I just want to interrupt you there, because they recently tweeted just yesterday. This was a tweet at TTS Academy. TTSA.
Okay.
Yeah, TTS Academy. They said, why unidentified aerial phenomena are a national security risk and also an opportunity for progress. So I was like the fourth person to tweet on this. And I said, if UAPs from an ET front are such a security risk, why before the TTS Academy launch did @Tom DeLong try to purchase the stats from Dr. Edgar Mitchell's free experiencers where the stats show different?
Exactly.
And it's funny because I had a lot of people respond to that, including this gentleman named UFO Joe 11.
Okay, what did he say?
He's in defense. And he's in defense of this, and he kind of comes out at me personally on this, basically saying, what proof do I have? They're not talking about UFOs. And so he goes, he didn't even say ET. What are you talking about? So I said, it's easy. Why is a publicly traded company looking into the air defense of the United States then? Isn't that the military's job? At TTS Academy is in their first presser, Oct 11/17, stated they were going to be the forefront of info on UAPs, in brackets I put UFOs. I said, look at their team. And he goes, publicly traded? What was the volume of TTSA stock today? Like, come on. Come on. It is so
seriously?
bloody obvious. It is so bloody obvious. So so for people who don't know, and we should fill this in a little bit.
Yeah, we should. We should, because this is just, you and I know what's going on and we're disgusted, but other people need to know too.
Exactly. So To the Stars Academy was set up to try and bring the UFOs to the forefront. Then their website was published, and it had no mention of UFOs or UAPs, nothing. Talked about books, it talked about movies and building a spaceship and
backpacks.
T-shirts. Exactly. And here we are. Like, before this came up, Renario Hernandez, who now leads the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Free Experiencers campaign, they have put together a test of experiencers. They've had almost 5,000 people take their tests about their experiences. And
me included.
Me and too. I took it too.
Yep.
And,
good for you.
And over 84% of the people who took that test, so almost 5,000 people, 84% said that their experiences with extraterrestrials were positive. There was, I think, 11 to 12% saying it was negative, and then 4% who said they couldn't remember or they didn't know or didn't care. So Tom DeLong tried to buy those stats before the start of the To the Stars Academy. And then Tom comes out and states on Joe Rogan's that we need to put nuclear weapons in space. These aliens are evil. They're here to take us over. And it is a complete disinformation, in my opinion, comparatively to the stats of real experiencers. So one of the questions I've always wanted to ask the To the Stars Academy is about this.
Oh, absolutely. But Dave, they're never going to answer you. They're never going to give you a straight answer because they're CIA operatives that have been trained in, spycraft to the point where they can't even tell themselves the truth. So, you might as well forget getting it out of them. I mean, the bottom line here is these guys are using To the Stars Academy as a front, a cover, a front, a laundry. It's their laundry mat for this money, basically, so they could go to the United States government and say, we want to be the guys that head up the projects at Lockheed's, I don't know if Skunk Works is even still in existence, but whatever, JPL, Lockheed, you name it, wherever, so we can develop defense in space. And I don't know how, what's been throwing me completely off my game has been what Trump went and did a few weeks ago with the Space Force. I'm trying to figure out how they're all going to get in bed with each other. This is very interesting, isn't it?
You know what? It completely is, Lorien, and we're going to get down that road. I mean, if you want to go down that road right now, I mean, I find it very interesting that the Space Force comes out about weaponizing space, almost identical to what DeLong said on the Joe Rogan show.
Absolutely.
And then now, once again, the To the Stars Academy is all about, as their tweet said yesterday, about unidentified aerial phenomena being a national security risk. So isn't that not any type of security risk? What is a publicly traded company talking about a national security risk when that's the military and the government's job?
Exactly. Well, what they're just like Robert Bigelow's company. They are going to probably get, requests for, proposals to go in and work with the government, and they're just going to be a front company for a bunch of consultants to the government doing the job the government, maybe or maybe cannot do, because they'd have to disclose to certain people within the government their findings. And when it's out there and it's a consultant doing the work, they don't necessarily have to tell them everything. It's plausible deniability for everything is what it really comes down to. It's just a shell company to make sure that the American people, or maybe our military, doesn't end up knowing the truth. See, this is all it's all for, I swear to God. Because do you think that everybody in the Pentagon knows what's going on with UFOs? I doubt it, seriously. There's probably only a few generals who really know the truth. That's my guess. Just my guess. What do I know? But the CIA knows more. The FBI knows a little more than the military, but the CIA and the Department of Energy, Office of Naval Intelligence, those are the people you need to look at who know about what's going on with UFOs. And I don't think the president really knows everything. I do know that he's probably had a sit down with Tom DeLonge and the gang, over there from the CIA Weird Desk. And that would include Jim Semivan and a few other people that are on the board of To the Stars Academy. And I think they persuaded him to do this whole Space Force thing so that they could use the government as their, if they needed something done, they could go right to him and say, we need, $5 billion. Can you help us out? So they could do their little research projects, which I want to talk about. Are we up for a break soon?
No, we got about 30 minutes, 29 minutes.
Oh, we don't have a bottom of the hour break. Yay! I'm so excited. Okay, good. All right, then I'm going to crank on here because I was holding back a little bit because I thought we were breaking out. So, okay. So what I've been able to discover is that recently To the Stars Academy people, God, I don't have their names in front of me because I can't pull up a website right now while I'm on Skype. It's a long story, folks. You don't want to hear about how archaic my computer is. But all the people involved with To the Stars Academy that are ex-CIA and ex-JPL and ex-military, they went to the Pentagon, no, not to the Pentagon, I'm sorry, to the Senate about, I think it was 6 weeks ago, and they took along with them, and I'm not going to say his name because I think that'd be a very hard, nasty thing to do to this poor man, but there is a contactee that these guys have been utilizing, and that's the word I'm going to say right now because that's the nicest way to say they have been just messing with this poor man. And they drug him along to these secret meetings. And how do I know about this? Because I was told by some of the people there at the time. And basically had him get up in front of these Senate people that have never heard that there is really aliens or UFOs or whatever and say, I am a contactee and I've had some really horrible situations with these aliens. And because of that, I think they're a threat. Never mind the fact that the same contactees had some amazingly good encounters with aliens or whatever you want to call them, but they convinced him to talk about the bad stuff. And they used him, and it just infuriates me. If you guys only knew how mad I was when I heard this, I actually threw something across the room. Because now, besides To the Stars Academy just basically using all of our data, they're now taking individual contactees kind of manipulating them into situations where they make them feel like they're actually important to their situation, which by tomorrow they'll probably brainwash him, put a gun in his hand, and he might be our next mass shooter. I don't know. But, the point is these guys are using and abusing these people and manipulating them to get the government to give them money to do research. And what kind of research are they doing? They're not going to tell you, but you look at the people that are on their board and the people like, God, I can't think of all their names right now. I'm sorry. And I just want to let you guys all know I'm on plenty of Dayquil because I've got a cold. So that's why I sound all stuffy and funny. And it's kind of messing with my brains on remembering names. But as you guys all know, we've got a whole bunch of neuroscientists and biologists on that board at To the Stars Academy. And these guys are not playing around. What they're doing is they're taking major contactees, they're getting EEGs, their brainwave patterns, they're getting their blood samples to get their DNA, they're getting everything they can from these guys, and they're analyzing it, and they're not telling us their findings. And I don't think we're ever going to know. This is kind of a secret project I think they're doing with the government, and there's Hal Puthoff's involved, Eric Davis, and I'm looking at the guy's face, but I can't think of it, Adele Gilpin, and Schraff, and Rapp, and, all the people involved in neurosciences. Man, this is like a candy store for them. They get all these major contactees, and they know why they're being contacted. They know it's frequency. They know it's genetics. They know it's DNA. They know all of it, and we're not going to find that truth. Good luck on that one. They've done all the major contactees, and I can't name names right now, but it just infuriates me. Why aren't we getting a report on that daily on their website about what their findings are? Maybe it's because all of us who have, this is just one of my hypotheses, okay? Maybe it's because everybody who's got O negative or A negative or B negative blood is a descendant of some type of other planetary race. Maybe that's why, and they don't want us to know about it. Maybe they figured it all out. Maybe they've also figured out that our genetics has been screwed with to the point where we as humans could not do it, but some other race is capable of it, and they've screwed with us to the point where they have stopped our ability to utilize full potential of our brain capacity, and also it kills us in 100 years where we could potentially live 100,000 years, which I just heard on the news on a science channel the other day. That our bodies could replicate themselves on a cellular level to the point where we could do it almost, it's every 27 or 28 days your body replicates itself completely by the cells or something like that. I can't remember what it all is. But the point I'm trying to make here is, folks, somebody's messed with us enough so that we can't live 100,000 years anymore. Okay? So, and these guys know the answer to that. I can guarantee you they know the answer. They've been doing this for years. They know what's going on, and I want to hear it. I want to know. Well, the only person that they should check up on with that is Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones. That is for sure, man. I got to tell you guys the funniest story. I woke up one day and I was having like an awake nightmare of Keith Richards trying to crawl in bed with me. I know that is just it's so gross. This was a long time ago when I was actually cute and good looking. And I was having, this dream was just, it scared me so badly. I thought, oh my God, why is this guy not dead? Doesn't he look like he's a walking corpse to everybody? I mean, is it just me? But he can still play some damn good guitar. I know. Isn't that amazing? It just blows my mind. It just blows my mind. And Steven Tyler, God, he looks so bad. And he's looking more like an old grandmother. Every picture I see him, he looks like a grandmother rather than a grandfather. I know. It's just scary stuff, isn't it? It just blows my mind. I know. It's rock and roll. Well, I can tell you now, I know this also for a fact. All of these guys out there that are living to 80 and 90 and still running around like they're 23 years old, these guys are all getting stem cell therapy completely. It's been going on in Germany for at least 20 years. They've been doing it in the United States now for about 5 or 6 pretty successfully, but it costs so much. that only people who have very, very good, like private PPO plans where you're paying, $4,000 a month for your insurance are even offered this type of stuff. And most of my friends that have had stem cell that works really well for them have gone to Mexico and got it done for $5,000 or $6,000. And the same type of, treatment would cost them $20,000 to $50,000 here. And that's just for something like a disc that's gone bad in their back or heart cells that need to be replaced. And I'll tell you what, 3 of my friends who've had the heart stem therapy, 2 of them in Mexico, 1 of them here, are all absolutely fine. Their hearts were running at 27%. I think the other one was 18. And I think they measured, Ralph. What was Ralph? I think Ralph was like 20%, somewhere in that range. And they all went and got stem cell therapy. And some of them, it took 2 treatments, not just 1. Like they keep saying it only takes 1, but some of their cases, it took 2. And my friend Jan is now got her heart up to, I think she said 93% working now. She feels like she's 25 again. Ralph, I know he said his was at 89%, and he feels great. And I can't remember what Carol's was doing. I haven't talked to her about it yet. But anyhow, point to all this is they can do it, they can fix you, and they know what they're doing with the stem cell therapy. So how come it isn't being offered to everybody on a regular basis? Just like I think teeth implants should be offered to everybody, and why we're paying $5,000 and $10,000 a tooth to have a tooth implant is absolutely ridiculous. You guys, it goes so much deeper. It goes to the heart of everything. I'm going to tell you guys a quick story. About 6 weeks ago, I noticed that in our nonprofit bank account that there was a charge there that shouldn't have been there. So I get a hold of the bank and I go through all this rigmarole to get the card replaced. And, slowly but surely it got to the house. But during that time, I realized I couldn't pay a bill. I couldn't get cash. It was like I suddenly realized how dependent I was on the system. And here's the worst part. When I took cash out, finally got cash out to pay all the bills, Comcast, my internet provider here, would not take cash at their office. They penalized me $20 for bringing them cash. When I went to cash a check at the bank that it was written on, I had to pay $15 in penalty fees at $750 every $500. So you guys do the math. I was trying to cash a $1,000 check. I'm trying to cash this check, and they charged me $15 to cash it because I didn't have a bank account there, and I refused to open one because I didn't want a bank account there. I didn't want a bank account. So everywhere I turned, I was either getting penalized or, basically shunned for paying with cash. What are we doing? This is the scariest. That scared me probably more than anything else that's happened to me in the last 25 years, because it's really coming down to a cashless society. And kids, I tried to get paid from a woman who I worked for doing bookkeeping a couple years ago. It's one of my other great stories. I asked her for a check. She's a trust fund kid. She's about 30 years old. I asked her to write me a check for my work, and she did not know how to write the check. She didn't even know she had checks. I found them in a folder when I was doing her bookkeeping, so I brought out the checkbook and asked her to write me a check, and she did not know how to write it. She had to ask me how to write the check. So this scares me, you guys. It scares me so much. You have no idea. When it gets to the point where they have everybody paying with electronic payments, that is the day they've got you by every hair on your body. Not even just the shorts. They've got you on every hair, because what are you guys going to do when you go to the store and they've cut your account off because they've decided you didn't pay your taxes this year, or you didn't sign up on time for your Medicare, or you weren't compliant at the doctor's office last week? What if they just decide randomly that they're going to stop letting you have anything? I mean, it is crazy. You guys have no idea what they can do.
Are you sure that's just not a California thing?
Oh no, this is going on nationwide. I've talked to friends in other states. Now, the poorer states aren't quite as advanced, but New York State, California, Texas, Washington, Oregon. I've talked to friends all over, and they're saying the same thing. It's just getting to the point where you can't. Oh, I went to pay a mortgage payment, and I couldn't pay it with cash either, and I had to go buy a money order to do it. It was insane.
Weird.
It was absolutely insane. I'm like, what is going on? And I really felt, like it was the end, And the first time I ever felt the end, it was 20 years ago, and I had just got my first cell phone, and I called the company. It was either Sprint or I don't remember who it was at the time. That was my first company. And I dialed in to talk to a customer service representative, and they said, press 1 for English and 2 for Spanish and this and this and that. Up until that time in my life, this was like the early 90s, I had dialed every number I'd ever called, and someone had answered and spoke English, right? And so this was the first time I'd ever hit that thing, press 1, 2, or 3 for different languages. I knew we were doomed. I knew at that point.
Oh, come on. It's been in Canada for decades.
Well, yeah, but maybe it was the late 80s. I don't remember. Whenever it happened, I knew that was the end of our country as it was. Because when we start getting to the point where the people now, and please don't hate me for this, everybody, please don't hate me, but we are to the point here in America where I can't drive down the street without seeing a homeless, American-born person. And I drive up to a McDonald's, and I'm faced with the fact that everybody in my McDonald's is of a different country's descent. And they all have a job, but this guy that, on the corner can't get a job. He'd love to work at McDonald's. I know he would. He'd love to work anywhere, but nobody will hire him because he may have had a past drinking problem or drug problem or this or that,
And the social society of everything being kept down. I'm going to turn the subject back to UFOs, if you don't mind.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, I fully understand with where you're going with that, and the same thing is happening up here in Canada. And,
is it?
Oh yeah.
No.
Oh yeah. I mean, you just got to go to Vancouver to see it. Vancouver has one of the poorest areas of the country in the downtown east side. I mean, all you have to look at is like during the Olympics in 2010, they were actually shipping homeless people out of Vancouver via bus in order to keep them from bugging tourists during the Olympics. I mean, that's how disgusting it was.
Dave, my relatives are from Calgary and Vancouver, and that's just so sad to hear that because I used to go up there as a kid, and it was beautiful, just beautiful. We go to Victoria, we go everywhere. It was lovely, and I'm just so sad to hear that's happening in Canada too.
Oh yeah. But
okay, back to UFOs.
Getting back to UFOs, I got to tell you, a number of weeks ago, probably 2 months ago now, maybe a little bit less, one of my favorites in this business, George Knapp, had done an interview with Jan Harzan and Luis Elizondo.
Oh, wonderful. Good for him.
And this was live on Coast to Coast. And about an hour and a half into that episode, maybe it was just my own shock because I've never seen a formal announcement or press release on anything, but I was quite shocked to learn, Lorien, that To the Stars Academy is now teaming up with MUFON. So we have a public company in To the Stars now going and teaming up with a non-profit organization. Now, they're an affiliate
partner. They're an affiliate partner. Let's get the jargon right.
Well, you have ties to MUFON.
Yeah.
And I want to know, because I want to get into this with you. A healthy debate.
I don't know much, but I can tell you this. I saw it coming very quickly. The minute I saw that they were going to have TV, video, movies, what have you, I knew what was coming, because when MUFON lost Hangar 1 off the History Channel, they were begging anybody else to take them on and get their name back out there again. And so the day that To the Stars came along and they said, oh, we have an entertainment division and we'll be making documentaries and TV shows and movies and blah, blah, blah. I went, oh God, okay, I even called two of my best friends, Robert Perala and another person, Melinda Leslie. And I said, okay, how much you want to bet within 1 or 2 months? It took longer. MUFON's going to be an affiliate partner of To the Stars Academy. And so when it was announced on George Knapp, guess who's calling me? Robert and Melinda. Oh, you were right. You were right all along. And the reason why I figured it out so quickly is because of this. Once you're kicked off of History Channel, it's very hard to get traction again on any other network, okay? And they really want that show out there. Hangar One actually was a very, very good show. What did you think of it, Dave?
Well, I think it was up here very tough to find.
Oh, you guys couldn't get it?
I never saw it.
Oh, too bad. I thought they did a really good job. I mean, it's not great. It's not, knock it out of the park great, but it was a really well done show on all the major UFO cases that MUFON had done. And the great part about it was this. MUFON, when they do an investigation, they get everything from the size of the guy's toenails to how long they think the eyelashes were on the alien. Okay. I mean, they ask extensive questions. So there's tons of information to work with, which gave the History Channel a lot of beef for their reenactments. Okay, they could really get into what the ship looked like, to what the aliens looked like, and they could really go to town on it. And I thought they did a spectacular job on many of the stories. Really good job. So after 2 seasons and they lose it, and I was just so sad because I really thought it was a great thing. So when I saw To the Stars come along, I saw Entertainment Division, boy meets girl in my head. Oh yeah, they'll be together soon. And sure enough, it happens. Now, I didn't listen to George Knapp's interview of Jan and Elizondo. So tell me, what did they say they were going to be doing together?
Well,
then I'll tell you what they're actually
going
to be doing again.
They played it off nonchalant about how they were sharing information and how Jan was very excited that MUFON had the ability and the opportunity to watch the long versions of all of the UFO videos, and that the two would be working together in trading their information. And the way I looked at it when I heard this, okay, and look, I know there's something more going on than what we know. I think it's pretty obvious. But when I heard this, I thought, you sneaky bastards. You sneaky bastards. Because, okay, MUFON, once again, if we go back just 10 years ago to when Robert Bigelow bought in.
Yep.
Okay, and the controversy around that. And the controversy that here we have a black ops, a black ops company in Bass now getting personal information from MUFON.
Yeah,
and now here we go again.
Yeah,
here we go again. And look, one sec.
Okay, go ahead.
I am a firm believer that there is 2 MUFONs out there. You have the field investigator MUFON people who are doing incredible research, incredible work for nothing. They do it for free. All right? They just want to learn. They want to know what is going on. They want to try and figure out this UFO system. And then you have the business side that, whether it was Jan Hardin's predecessor or Jan Hardin now, that MUFON, the business side, continues to make deals with the devil in order to gain their own popularity. And I think it's ridiculous, because look what happened 10 years ago with Bigelow, and now look what happens now with To the Stars. If you're going to be teaming up with that, why is there no announcement? Why is there... Okay.
I think there might have been in a MUFON journal somewhere that they were actually... it might even be on their website now. I don't know. But and you're absolutely right, Dave. You're right. These poor investigators that are out there. Let me tell you a story about the investigators real quick. Okay. First of all, they do it for nothing. Like you said, they're all volunteers. If they get a really good case and they call in to headquarters or they send in a report that's just absolutely, drop your drawers like, yeah, it landed on my head kind of case, that's taken away from them and passed on to what they call the STAR team. And then the STAR team goes and investigates. And that infuriates me to no end. You have no idea. That has always made me very angry. I don't like that. And then there's the whole thing of them joining up with Bob Bigelow back in the day. That was all about money. It was $179,000 that was going to be paid over 3 years. And what it basically did is pay the director's salary is what it did. And now the other part to that whole Tom DeLonge thing, buying out free, I'm just going to go back to that for 1 second because it relates to MUFON, is that when Tom DeLonge called free and said, we want to buy your stuff, he did not want to buy it outright. What he wanted to do was, they're a nonprofit, so he was going to donate a certain amount of money that was earmarked for paying Ray and 2 or 3 other people on the board or what have you. And it was going to be a substantial sum of money that was going to pay them and keep them, alive with a paycheck for several years. Okay. In exchange for these documents, having access to the documents. Because as a nonprofit, they could take a giant donation, but obviously It has to be, used for some purpose. And
okay, I want to stop you right there because I want to hit you up on this.
Okay.
All right. If I'm giving my report to MUFON, let's say I'm Mr. Joe Smith, or I'll use my name, Dave Scott, who knows nothing about UFOs. Okay, goes on Google, says, where do I file a UFO report? MUFON comes up. And MUFON states that my information is confidential.
Right.
All right, which it does.
Yeah.
All right. And now with my information going to a third party that has a bunch of government spooks on there, I would have an issue with that. You should. And there are people who 10 years ago absolutely threatened to sue MUFON over this exact same issue with Bigelow. But I'll give you all the money you want and I'll help you out financially, but give me some people. Give me some people.
Yeah.
You're playing with people's ignorance. And you're buying off people's ignorance is what they're doing. And it's scummy by MUFON. It is scummy.
I agree with you totally. And also you got to remember, he wasn't just paying off MUFON. He was paying for the STAR team to go and investigate and bring to him their findings. How do you think he got all that stuff that he's got hidden away in his building?
Absolutely. He did it to Brian Vike. He did it to Brian Vike up here in British Columbia.
Yeah, tell me that again. What did he do? He just got his reports, or did he get the actual?
He bought everything. From what I'm hearing, he bought everything. Brian Vike, for people who don't know, was one of Canada's premier UFO researchers in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And then allegedly came down with a health problem, and he sold everything to Robert Bigelow in 2010.
Yes.
And if you go on the website, which is HBCC UFO, so hbccufo.org, and you go to About Us, you see that all reports go straight to BASS, which is Bigelow Advanced Aerospace Space Systems.
Right. Absolutely.
So here we have history repeating itself, and Jan Harzan from UFO, who runs MUFON, doesn't seem to learn the lesson, just like he didn't seem to learn the lesson from John Ventry.
I know. That's another whole story. Oh, my God. Yeah, so many people quit. And I called Jan. After that whole thing happened, I called him and I said, look, Jan, I know you. He did not. He came on board after Dave McDonald left in 2013 now, I'm thinking. 2013, Jan took over. Anyhow, he inherited a board of directors of a bunch of ex-spooks, ex-airplane pilots, ex-this, ex-that. And they've been on the MUFON board since, God was God. And what are you going to do? Just say, hey, guys, guess what? I'm the new director and I'm going to kick you all off. He can't. They control him. He doesn't get to control them. And the problem is, what do? You can't sit there and get rid of him. And I called him. I said, I know exactly what position you're in, because when they wrote the 501c3 for MUFON, they did not make the administrative director or the founder the sole member making the decisions. Okay, they made the board of directors of people making the decisions. Jan works for the board of directors, and he is the face of MUFON, and there's absolutely nothing he can do about these guys.
Well, he should resign, do the proper thing, and resign and explain why. He can always start up another group. He has the connections.
I agree with you on that, but I think since 2013. Jan has done more good for MUFON behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about, and I can't talk about because, frankly, it's not my position to do so, and I'm not going to. But I have seen him do some really good things, and I've also seen him tell many of us who've called him furious. I mean, I've called Jan furious. He's got me on speed dial. He knows when I call him, he answers in one call because he knows I'm frothing at the mouth about something, right? And he calms me down. Yeah. Number 2, he listens to me. And number 3, he actually does something about it as soon as he can. Okay, that I've noticed about him.
And on that note, I'm going to get you to hold on, Lorien, because we got to go to our first break of the night. Lorien Fenton from the Fenton Perspective is on Spaced Out Radio tonight. We're talking UFOs. We're talking MUFON. We're going to continue this conversation, MUFON to the stars, in hour number 2. We'll get to your questions as well. You are listening to Spaced Out Radio, and I want to give a quick shout-out to everybody on Deep Talk Radio who is listening in tonight from Australia, Indonesia, Russia, the United Kingdom, and the United States. Thank you so much for tuning us in and sharing this show. I hope you're enjoying tonight's talk. We'll be back right after this.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Coming September 28th to the 30th, it's our first annual Cari-Boo Paracon, put on by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers. 3 days of paranormal, supernatural, and spiritual knowledge in the beautiful 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Tickets are $150 Canadian for the event, being held at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Come watch our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Lorien Fenton, David Weatherly, Ross Allison, and more. The Cari-Boo Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm going to take you for a ride every Sunday night on Spaced Out Sundays. I'm going to set up your week with some strange tales from across North America, from psychic readings, Sasquatch, UFOs, to the most haunted locations. Come join me at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, and let's get weird together. I'd love for you to join me. Spaced Out Sundays at spacedoutradio.com.
There's news, and there's The Encounter. This is Spaced Out Radio News Director Everett Thiemer inviting you to check out The Encounter. Our half-hour news segment every Monday through Friday night is different compared to what you're used to. Our goal is to bring you the weird, strange, and interesting stories the mainstream tends to leave out, and stories that will make you scratch your head in disbelief. The Encounter can also be found at spacedoutradio.com and on our Facebook page, SOR The Encounter. Come give us a read.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for some great nightlife? The Moose Vancouver is the place to be. Catch a game on one of the big screens or just come rock out to your favorite 80s and 90s hair bands. Great food starting at $6.95. The Moose Vancouver is open until 2 a.m. nightly. It's easy to find near the corner of Nelson and Granville. The Moose Vancouver is the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night on the show, Samantha Mowatt's long-awaited return is here as the best-kept secret in ufology returns to SOR. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We welcome back everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network and all around the world on the Deep Talk Radio Network. Don't forget you can check out our archives for free at our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Chi-Chi's Bayo. Chi-Chi's Bayo is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, shop at our store, read up on the encounter online, and so much more. And don't forget, tickets are officially on sale for the first annual Cari-Boo Paracon. Happens the final weekend of this month, the 28th through 30th, in beautiful 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. This event put on by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers. You can go to questers.ca. That's questers.ca. Click on the fall conference and get your tickets right now. Tonight, from the Fenton Perspective, we have Lorien Fenton coming in. We are talking about UFOs, MUFON, The Connection, and so much more. Lorien, welcome back.
Thank you. Oh, there it is. I had to reach the microphone.
Oh, glad we got you. Glad we got you. Always
oh, my
a pleasure.
God. Okay. So where were we? We were having a great discussion about MUFON, and I just mentioned that, Jan basically has me on speed dial because I'm always complaining about something. Yeah. And, like I said, I got to stick up for him a little bit because, like, he listens. He tries to, calm me down and explain why they're doing what they're doing. And then he usually takes care of the problem because he usually realizes what I've got to say is absolutely right on. And then, 6 months later, I may get a little note from him, or I may run into him at a conference and he'll say, that thing we were talking about. I go, yeah. He goes, well, I took care of it, and he really does the best he can for what he can do, how he's working at stuff, what he can do without the board breathing down his neck about it. The whole thing with teaming up with To the Stars Academy, I'm not sure that was Jan's decision in the first place, because Jan is a real, what they call a real, God, what's the word I'm looking for? He really likes to do things according to the book, the way MUFON should be doing everything. And I'm just saying, from what the board of directors has done over the last 5 years, I just sit there and I go, what planet are they living on? So you've got Jan trying to do everything the way it should be done, and then you got this board of directors making all these wild decisions that you're just going, huh? And all Jan can do is stand there and go, okay, because, he's not the board. And it's very interesting. People don't realize that. Jan Harzen may be the executive director, but he is not the decision maker in a lot of cases. So it's very tough on.
So let me ask you this, because this leads to Gail's question in the chat room, where she is asking, do you think, or why do you think Jan Harzen should resign? Do you think he should resign?
Do I? No, not at all. I'm telling you, folks, if Jan Harzen wasn't the guy in there right now with his level of integrity and the amazing way he's been able to kind of in the background kind of turn things around, I think MUFON would have been done for. I think they would have been sued. I think there's so many things that would have happened, especially over that last little Ventry incident, seriously. And I think they would have been no longer. Yeah.
I get that, and I appreciate that. I guess the reason why I think he should step down is because whether or not there is a board of directors making the decisions around him or above him, he is the face. And so many times when we have seen CEOs or executive directors forced to resign over controversies, and I think he should, because he doesn't come out publicly, which is his job, to answer some of these questions. He picks and chooses his spots.
Yeah, he does.
And you know what? That doesn't all that does is fuel the fire. It just fuels the fire. And if he came out, okay, because I know I have put him on request. I know other outlets have put him on request. However, the one show always seems to, he'll go on that one, not a problem. Not a problem whatsoever. And I'm not saying that out of jealousy. I'm saying that out of the fact that there's a lot of people who want their questions answered, whether it's about John Ventry, whether it's about the second coming of Robert Bigelow in MUFON, if Bigelow is indeed funding the To the Stars Academy, which many in this field believe he is. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered. And it does nothing when you are playing. I guess the way I'm looking at this, Lorien, when you are playing with people's personal information, all right, yes, we are stupid enough as a society. We have our information plastered all over social media. We have it plastered on, internet payments for our banks. We have our information everywhere, and it's easy to get. But when you are stating that you are confidential at keeping that information confidential, but who are you confidential to? I have a problem with that, especially something as sensitive as when the United States government or any government around the world can get that information. And until he answers the questions and stands up and says, this isn't happening, and look, here's proof, he should resign.
Well, and are you talking about the information? Let's pick one topic out of all the myriad of things that MUFON does right or wrong. Okay, let's talk about that. You're feeling that are the information people give for a sighting or an experience or what have you to their investigators that's being reported on the MUFON database. You're feeling that it is being used in a nefarious way, or that they're getting names out of there. What's the feeling about that?
Okay. Let's take Lorien Fenton for instance here, and this will be my point. Lorien Fenton fills out a MUFON report.
Got it.
All right, where they ask you a plethora of information regarding what happened. All right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if To the Stars, or even if you go back 10 years ago to Robert Bigelow, they made trades, money for personal information. Now, if any bank or Wall Street company did that, that's illegal.
Oh, okay. I see where you're coming from, and I've got a great answer for you on that. I know for a fact that the personal information, the person's name, address, and phone number was redacted on the information that was given out. Now,
so why not Jan come out and say that? Jan needs to come out and say that.
Well, I guess he does need to say that, because I know right now I have 4 friends that are investigators, and one of the things they have started the last few years since Jan's been in as the administrator or the director is that none of the I think all the CMS reports, if you look at them, do not have a person's name, address, phone number, any way to distinguish who the person was giving the report. Am I correct on that?
Well,
it's been a while since
I'm looking at the application right now. If you fill out a MUFON application, they ask your first name, your last name, your country, your province or state.
Yes, yeah,
okay.
That's for all.
Your city, your street address.
That's only for them. That's only for them. Yeah. I go on.
How do we know
MUFON,
that though? How do we know that though? Considering that MUFON, told one of our people, one of Spaced Out Radio's people, and I asked Chase Klutsky this on the air.
Oh, you did? Okay, what did Chase say? She's on the star team.
One of my reporters, Gail, who didn't believe me in any of this, and I know she's listening and rolling her eyes right now down in Portland.
Good for you, Gail. Good for you. Okay.
All right. She didn't believe me on this, and she actually emailed the press director of MUFON. And she basically said, and I'm paraphrasing here, has MUFON ever given any personal information out to any third party? The guy came back and said, absolutely not. Yet, We know, when I questioned Chase Klutsky on that, we know that they did to Robert Bigelow through the Star Team.
That is correct. And there's one piece to this that we're forgetting. They asked the people's permission to give it to Bob.
They did not.
I thought they did. I was told that they did.
No, they did not, because there were a bunch of people who filed complaints that their personal information got into the hands of Bigelow.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So here I'm saying, if we fast forward to right now, 2018, I'm looking at the MUFON registration for a report, first name, last name, country, address, work phone number, home phone number, cell phone, 2 separate emails. Would you or would you not like to remain anonymous? Are you 18 years or older? If not, please supply the name of your parent or guardian.
Okay, that's very interesting. Would you like to remain anonymous? I've never seen that before. That must have just happened recently, and that's very interesting. Because so many things have happened with the media as far as doing Hangar 1. I mean, if you go back 4 years, back to 2014, I was speaking with the people doing Hangar 1, and I was at the conference in LA, blah, blah. I talked to one of the guys that was actually a story in Hangar 1. And I asked them all this question, Dave. I said, how did people get a hold of you, and who was the person that got a hold of you about doing all this? And was it okay with you, when I was having coffee with them at Starbucks, was it okay with you that they actually contacted you, the Hangar 1 people? Didn't that freak you out? And he goes, it was absolutely fine. When I gave my statement to MUFON, they said to me at some point, so it was a pretty extraordinary case, and he does remember them saying to him, if at some point someone wants to use this in a book or a MUFON a book or some type of thing where we would not use your name, and unless you would allow it, could we get a hold of you to do this type of thing? And he said, sure, no problem. Now, I was told by many people back in the day, back when I joined MUFON for the first time in 2009 or whatever it was, so it's been a decade I've been with them, that they always ask people permission to do anything with it. And once your name gets into that database, even the people running the database don't even get to see your name because it doesn't come up in any of the reports. It's just so, a male in Kentucky on this day saw blah, 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 and they may put your age. If I remember correctly, they said we put your age. So as far as I can tell, I've been told something completely different than what Chase told you guys. So that's very interesting.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to throw Chase Klutsky under the bus. I think she
no.
she's
I
absolutely love her and adore her, and I think she's one of the good souls that is trying her best to clean up MUFON in that board of directors. And I think she is. And she doesn't like any of this stuff. She doesn't. She has told me that both on and off the record.
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
No, and she's told me the same thing, and her and I are in total agreement on it. It's just that I was pretty sure that ever since the Bob Bigelow thing happened, that they have been very careful about how this information is getting in or out of MUFON. And I know 3 people right now that are going back through 20-year-old reports, and they're redacting everything that could refer to the person, their name, where they're at, anything that could tie them into the being found out. I know for a fact they're doing this. They had a whole bunch of volunteers come in, and they're going back over really old cases and doing so because what they're trying to do right now, I believe, if I remember correctly from my last experience talking to Jan, is they are trying to put together a documentary of different decades of extraordinary cases from MUFON. And so it'll be like a documentary series. And so I hope that they're doing it. This was just, a couple of years ago. We were talking about it, and he goes, yeah, but first we got to get everybody's names out of the stories, except for to the people that are going to contact them and say, would you like to be part of helping us with your story? And if not, that's fine. We'll go on what we got 15 years ago. And that's it. I mean, and I think it has to be somebody working in MUFON headquarters or on the board to contact these people.
Mm-hmm.
They're the only people allowed to do that. So I'm sticking up for them in that sense because that's what I was told they were doing. So.
Well, I know that Leslie Mitchell Clark, who is very involved in MUFON, stated on this show that she had no idea that when her stuff went to MUFON with abduction cases, that they were not being kept private during that time with Bigelow.
Wow. That's very interesting.
All right.
Very interesting.
And yet the John Carpenter affair says absolutely different.
Yeah, I know. See, that's the whole problem. And John even quit over the whole thing. So, yeah, very interesting. Well, I don't know if we're gonna solve this tonight on air because I was told something different, and it sounds like there's some other things going on. And I'll tell you what, I can promise your listeners now that I know that there is an issue with privacy with MUFON, I will do some research. And I will get back to all you guys.
If we're wrong, I'll admit it. I have no problem doing that. Everything that I have learned through talking with people such as yourself, with Chase, and I would highly suggest that anybody out there, go listen to my interview with Chase Klutsky. Go on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/spacedoutradio, and listen to that interview with Chase Klutsky. And she actually took some heat from that, from Jan Harzan. And bless her soul, because I absolutely think the world of Chase. She wanted that interview to happen that exact way. She was woman enough, and I say that with all due respect, to stand in the hot seat, and she's like, bring it. These questions need to be asked to the public.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and I'm going to do some information searching, and we'll figure it out. I might even give Chase a call in this next couple of days because I want to know what's going on from her side. Then I'm going to call Jan, and I'll find out what's going on from there. And trust me, Jan Harzan's made those phone calls to me too because I took so much heat over the Ventry, Erica Luke stuff, and putting her out there and basically letting them all just attack MUFON on my radio show. But I told, here's what I told Jan. I'm going to tell your audience this too. The truth never hurts. Because in the end, if MUFON is doing nothing wrong, it won't matter, will it, Jan? And he agreed with me. He said, you're absolutely right. Nobody should get upset about this because basically the communications director and everybody else was flipping out about my show with Erica the night that she came on my show, and she broke the whole story about how MUFON had totally messed with her. Okay. If you guys want to hear an interesting thing, look up that interview. It was, Inception Radio Network, Lorien Fenton, California MUFON Radio interviews Erica Lukes, and I believe it's still up on their website right now. And it's a scathing story against MUFON, but it was the truth at the moment for her and what they did. Okay. And if they were going to survive it, they were going to survive it. If they weren't, they weren't. And that was my whole take on it. So that's how I feel about MUFON. Like I said, I love MUFON, but if they're going to sink themselves, I'm going to let them. I'm not going to stand in the way of the cannon fodder. I'm telling you, I'm not going to become cannon fodder for them. But I do appreciate what they do. I have lots of respect for Jan Harzan. I can't say I have the same amount of respect for the board of directors or some of the other people working for MUFON, but Jan, he took on a battle and he's doing very well considering what he's got to work with. And I'm just going to leave it at that until I do my research, and then we'll come back on the show and we'll have a real hoedown. Okay.
Well, you know what? We will do that. Okay. I'm going to put you on a time limit here because today is September 5th. September 28th, we have the SOR Roundtable. You will actually be up here in 108 Mile Ranch.
Oh, yeah. Let's do it then.
And what we'll do is we'll bring you in for the first couple of minutes to talk about this, about your findings. And then what we can do from there is you can head off to the ghost hunt while I continue to host the show.
Great. I think that's a plan. And by that time, now, are you telling me that Jan Harzan has never appeared on Spaced Out Radio?
No. I've sent him probably 2 or 3, it doesn't sound like a lot, but I've sent him 2 or 3 invites. come on
Okay,
the show.
well, now that I know that, you know.
Look, I just want to, like, I'm not trying to be a jerk about this.
No, you're not being a jerk, Dave. You're bringing up all the questions that your listeners are talking to you about and want to know the answers to, and I don't blame you guys. I want to know them now too, because I was under the impression that people's actual personal information was not getting out to anybody unless it got to the point where they said that person's going to be in Hangar 1, that person's going to be in a major report going to some kind of other organization, or that person's going to be in a book, or we're giving that information to Preston Dennett to put in a book, or, you know, authors have requested it or whatever because they want to contact them about their incident. And I thought that was the only way. And I believe up until recently, there was a button you had to click at the bottom that said this information was not going to be shared with anybody unless they needed to do further research or wanted to do other things with it, but they would contact you for more information. I believe that was on there at least 2 years ago. So I think they have a disclaimer somehow.
Okay,
Yeah.
so with the To the Stars, I'm looking
Okay.
I'm looking at their MUFON website right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not seeing anything about coordinating anything with To the Stars.
Very interesting. Now, what exactly, because I didn't hear the show with Jan and Elizondo. Oh, speaking of Elizondo, I hope everybody's had a chance to go to the website and catch the new video of Elizondo speaking at the MUFON Symposium in Pennsylvania. Did everybody see that? I hope so. Did you see it, Dave?
I'll tell you, most of my listeners do not follow that. They're so fed up with the story that they even hate me talking about it.
Oh, really? Oh, God, should we be talking about it tonight? Well, yeah, we should.
Well, we have to. We have to.
We have to. It's important.
So that's why the last few months I've actually tried to stay away from the To the Stars. It slips out every now and again. And look,
yeah.
And look, you know, when it comes to the Stars, I'm not trying to tank them. Okay?
Oh, I'm not either. I think they have their place. I just don't like who's running it. It should be you and I and about 20 other experiencers I know running To the Stars. But that's not going to happen because we don't have that kind of money. They just kind of bank on that, don't they? Don't all these CIA guys realize that they're going to get all kinds of money and we're not? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
You know, like Free can't get enough money to, you know, barely publish their book. And these guys got $4.2 million to make, you know, movies out of Tom DeLonge's books and make comic books.
But fear sells. Fear sells.
I know.
And that's what they're doing. And
yeah, they absolutely are.
And from everything that I have heard, Lou Elizondo is a good guy. He's a really good guy, and he, you know, and that he would like to have this come out. And from what I have heard from other people who've told me off the record, that he is someone who doesn't really, even though he's a spook by trade, he doesn't really want to play by the rules anymore and wants to get this information out. However, there is a giant team above him that says, Lou, you got to be careful with lots of this.
Well, and there's even more to the story. Now, this is part of my presentation that I'm pretty sure the super soldiers are winning, right, on the list there. I don't know.
They are winning, yes.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to talk about this. This is what I talk about in my presentation about these guys. It's very interesting. Melinda Leslie put together an amazing presentation, which will be up on my MUFON website within the next 72 hours, and it's free. I decided just to throw it up there because you guys really need to see it, and it's all about, Dave saw it, it's all about who's actually running To the Stars Academy behind the scenes. And that's what I want to bring up right now. There are a bunch of guys that have been running organizations since 1980-something. There is probably 50 people minimum involved with To the Stars Academy that are actually advising. And I use that word loosely because I think that some of them are just advising, some of them are totally advising, and some of them are actually dictating to these guys what they're going to be doing. And these guys all come from nefarious groups that have been going on since the early 80s, and Bob Bigelow's one of them. There's a few others, I'm not going to mention names, that were in the military, and it really is a giant group of people making decisions about how we're going to get disclosure, what we are going to be allowed to know about the alien agenda, and they're trying to turn it into a fear porn program, as Dave was just saying, because they want us to be afraid. They want to be able to get all this money from the government to, protect our airspace and build up a space force, quote unquote. My little fingers are quoting me right now. So, you guys, it really goes a heck of a lot deeper than you think. So this presentation that Melinda put together is spot on. And like I said, it'll be on my MUFON website, this is kind of a mouthful, so get ready, guys. It's MUFON, MUFON, MarinSonoma.com. So it's MUFON, Marin County, MARIN, Sonoma County, SONOMA.com. So MUFON, MarinSonoma.com. And it'll be on it'll say on-demand videos or something, but we're just editing it right now. We started working on it tonight. Take us a couple more nights to get it finished. It'll be up there. It's going to tell you everything you want to know about who really are the players behind To the Stars Academy. And then, if you want to talk about it a little bit more, Dave, I can tell you these guys that are the biological guys, the guys that are the neuroscience guys, Hal Puthoff, and some of these, Eric Davis, all these other scientists, they are working on stuff that we will never get to know about, like I said at the beginning of the show. That's really what's going on here.
And that's too bad, because realistically, the way they set To the Stars out publicly is that they were going to be the voice for the public.
That's right.
That they were going to bring everything to the public. There was nothing to hide.
Well, someone on their advisory team, and my fingers again are quoting the air, their advisory team is going to tell them what they can tell us and can't tell us. So, it really is just another BS company, just like, and I hate to say it, just like MUFON has been doing to us for years. I mean, how come it wasn't written about in the MUFON journal like 45 times about the incident with the, what's the biggest ship in our fleet that, God, I can't think of its name. Anyhow, on Hangar 1, they had one of these guys that was locked out, the guy that I met at the Starbucks in LA. He was locked out of the ship, and they saw a 2-mile wide ship come out of the ocean. He was on, not the Nimitz. Yeah, maybe it was a Nimitz. Anyhow, he was on one of those ships. They did a blackout. He got locked out. All the windows were closed. No one could see what was going on. So they knew, the government already knew that ship was coming out of the water and told that ship to go dark. Okay, so why wasn't that made into a huge thing when MUFON got that case? That's what I want to know. When he reported it finally and it became a thing on Hangar 1, how come that wasn't huge? It should have been huge. And it wasn't. It was just blown over. Another case. Oh, guy saw a UFO come out of the water. Well, no. He was on our biggest naval fleet vessel. They were in a blackdown or a dark out or whatever they call it, so they couldn't see out any of their windows. None of them were allowed to know. He was interrogated for 2 days afterwards and told, you never saw anything. And then finally he agreed he never saw anything, and they let him go. That should have been all over the freaking news. So this is the kind of stuff, that makes me mad that MUFON never got that out there. And then on top of it all, how come To the Stars Academy isn't pulling that out of their hat right now and saying, hey, look, we, besides video of these things moving, we have an eyewitness account of this guy on the ship seeing this huge thing. And oh, by the way, our government knew it was there all along. That's what they should be telling us. Oh, God. Don't get me going. I'm going to start screaming.
Oh, not you. Not you.
Oh, not me. Oh, not me.
Come on.
Oh, my God. See, guys, this is the problem. This is why I sit every week. I lose my voice at the end of my show sometimes because I get so angry about people don't see what's really going on here, what's really being hidden, because they throw it out in plain sight, and then people don't take each incident to its logical conclusion anymore. What happened to logic? It's crazy to me. People go, oh, yeah, another sighting. Well, ask yourself, what are the details of that sighting? Was it a military sighting? Was it a public person sighting? Who was it? And if it was a military sighting, how come it isn't all over the freaking news as something that we all need to know about? Because it could have been considered a threat to your city. It should be on the 11 o'clock news if that's the case. So, okay. I've said my piece on that. I get so angry. You have no idea.
Well, I can see that because, in the end, it all leads to disclosure. That's what these guys are supposed to be doing, and they're not even close. I get that. So are we, in your opinion, with this new tie between MUFON and the To the Stars Academy, are we moving politically further away from disclosure, or are we moving closer to it? My opinion is it doesn't matter what organization it is, except for maybe Free, because Free turned down, what's his name? God, I'm looking at his face.
DeLong.
Why can't I think of DeLong? Thank you. They turned down Tom DeLong, and they are standing on their own. They're the only organization out there that I could even trust. There isn't one single other group out there, and I hate to say this, including Davenport, because Peter's got his own thing going. It's considered his own business, so he could turn around tomorrow and sell it to Bigelow if he wanted to. Okay? And, I trust Peter, though. I don't think he'd ever do something like that. The UFO reporting, whatever. I don't think he'd do that. But bottom line is you can't trust anybody. How can you trust anybody when there's money involved that they dangle in front of your face, and if you need it, you're going to go for it? It's that simple. And I don't think disclosure is going to happen anyway soon that we think it's going to happen, even though, and this is why I want your people to go to the To the Stars Academy website, because in the new video, which is the 30-minute talk he gave at MUFON, he does say in his opening statement, he says, 1 year from now, we're going to have a completely different conversation because so much more is going to be out. I think maybe they're going to, keep pushing these videos on us about UFOs, but what To the Stars doesn't understand is everybody in that room at MUFON has already seen them. We already know they're real. Let's start talking about who's driving them. Okay? That's the most important thing to me. Well, that brings up a good point. Why is there such a segregation, in your opinion, between unidentified aerial phenomena and the classic UFO, where we all think an alien is flying a UFO? Well, the reason they're doing it that way, and this came straight from Jim Semivan in his discussion with Melinda Leslie, which you can watch on Grant Cameron's channel if you ever have the time. That's a great interview to watch. It's not the recording's not great. Her voice is kind of odd, but I'm telling you folks, listen to that. She gave a full report on it. Here's what they're doing. They don't think that the regular people out there who are reading these reports in the Washington Post, CNN, or whatever can handle the truth. And, I hate to say it, I agree with them. I totally agree with Jim Semivan on this. I don't think they can. My parents were able, when they saw the report of the pilot on CNN talking about, chasing that UAP or whatever they call them now, my parents were like, oh, wow, so Lorien was right, and they were kind of like, oh, so there are UFOs. Oh, okay. Their brain never even went to the next step. You know why? Because they can't. They can't go to the next step because it's too scary for them. So they all have cognitive dissonance. They all don't understand it. They don't want to know about it. They accept the fact that now, okay, maybe there's UFOs. Okay, the government says there's UFOs. Okay, but they don't want any more than that. They really don't. And they've done 1 million studies on this. It's that simple. Most of the people out there couldn't handle it.
They really couldn't. They're not like your listeners, Dave, or my listeners. My listeners and your listeners are extremely brilliant, sophisticated. I got to say, they're fearless, because you have to be fearless to listen to this kind of stuff and absorb it and take it in as a fact. My parents could never take in the fact that there's an alien driving that thing. I don't think their brain could even comprehend it. Got to remember, they're 88 years old. So, it's never going to sink in at 88, but it will sink in at 15 that there are UFOs out there. And
True.
the 15-year-old is going to say to himself, well, geez, if there's UFOs, who's making a move? And he's going to be open enough within the next 2 to 3, 5 years that they're slowly going to peel the layers back of the onion and slowly get it to him. So by the time he's 30 years old, it's all sat with him long enough that they're there, and he's already asked himself, there's got to be someone driving it. And then eventually they start letting you know, well, yeah, there's other beings, but they look like us. Not to scare us, see?
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll trot out a Plagiarin or a Plagiarin or a Palladian or or a Great White or something, and that will become the first introduction of aliens to humankind. Or, so it's going to have to be. It's not going to be like Childhood's End, like I always thought it was going to be, where something completely different, pops out that looks like the devil. 3 decades later after the ships have been parked over us. I don't think that's going to happen. I always thought it would, but no. Now I think it's going to be completely different.
Okay.
And
I just sent you a copy. Gail was nice enough to email me a copy of the email she sent. And for our audience, I'm going to read this out. So back on January 14th, 2018, Gail sent an email to MUFON, and I've sent you a copy on your email, Lorien.
Okay.
And it says, I have been hearing frequently lately that MUFON files containing UFO reports were bought by Robert Bigelow. I have not located what I consider a reputable source that states simply yes or no. Would you please answer this? Many of my friends and I in the UFO community would like to know. Thank you very much, Gail. So Roger Marsh, I'm sure you know the name.
Roger. I know Roger very well. I'm not going to say anything about him.
Okay. He sends a one-line email back to Gail saying, Gail, no, the MUFON files have never been sold to anyone, including Mr. Bigelow. And then Chase Klutsky comes on this show and says different.
Yep. Roger is living in a bubble somewhere because he is not right. I know they were sold to Bigelow. Everybody knows they were sold to Bigelow. And, and it may be semantics with Roger, because Roger doesn't, unless you ask him the exact right question, I don't think you're going to get an answer. MUFON files is a completely different word than investigative case reports. And he may have said, well, since you didn't ask me the right question, I don't have to answer answer what I think she's asking me. That's my opinion right now, reading
Either
this.
way,
Yeah.
that's egg on MUFON's face. And
of
like
course
I said
it
to
is.
and
Roger
Chase,
should not be doing that. I don't know what Roger's thinking.
And like I said to Chase, and Chase 100% agreed with me. That's where MUFON continually puts its foot in its mouth.
Well, I thought Roger was smart enough not to do something like this. Well, this just bothers me. And this was done in January 15th of 2018. See, this really bothers me.
Mm.
Okay. Well, this is just more food for my fodder for this little research project we're now on, right, Dave?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, boy.
I mean, so what's the truth? What is the truth about this? Hey, I got a question. I got a question off topic from Eric with a K, who was at your MUFON or at your UFO con in San Francisco. Big, tall guy, good looking.
Oh, Eric! Hi, Eric.
Nice hair.
Nice hair, good teeth. We like that guy.
Yes, definitely good teeth as well. And he is asking, what is your opinion of Captain K, Randy Kramer?
Oh boy. Okay, this is a real tough one for me. When he first came out, I tried to get a hold of him. He refused to respond to me. then I started doing some research into him, and I went to several different sources. I have sources in different places, and I have them in different places on purpose, folks. I have what I call my fringe people, and my fringe people are people that think aliens are walking in their house every day, and that they're chipped in their head, and they're hearing voices from God, and they are way on the other side. Okay. Then on the other side of my research pals, I've got people that are ex-CIA and ex-military and what have you that have been involved in some very dark projects over the years. And I go to both. And what I do, and the reason I do that is because if you go to a lot of these ex-military guys, they have no idea who you're talking about because and they can research into them, but they usually just tell me one or two things. They were never military, and they don't know what they're talking about. They're crazy. And then I go, okay, well, if they're crazy and they think they were in the military, or they were in the military but nothing really weird happened, or they couldn't find it out or whatever, then I head on over to the people who know them that are the people that are having contact or whatever. And from both sides of the fence with this guy, I got strange, conflicting reports. The military people said he did serve, but he, it wasn't anything special. From what they could figure out, there was no dark ops involved. The other side of the fence said that he was, that they believe he was part of some dark program, and that he probably, doesn't he say he's part of the secret space program? I believe so. I think he says he's a pilot and done some work, like piloting. Isn't that what his gig is? They said that they have seen him on crafts, that thing, whatever. So I'm getting conflicting reports. Now I'll tell you this. Just a week ago, he came up on my radar again. And the reason he did is because a very good friend of mine who was in the military happened to be at a conference he was speaking at, and I'm not going to say where, when, or how. And he was on a panel with him, and he kept his mouth shut while Randy Kramer proceeded to take over the microphone for, he said it felt like an hour and a half. It may have only been 45 minutes. Which was a lot longer than he was supposed to be on that microphone. And he was absolutely shocked that the producers didn't grab the microphone away from him, but they didn't. But he decided he wasn't going to get up and do it, which he usually does. And he said, I'm just going to sit and let this guy hang himself. So he proceeded to tear him apart for me. And here are two things he said. He says, number one, he doesn't have the right terminology for any of this. If he was piloting a craft that went into outer space, he doesn't have the right terminology. He does not know what he's talking about. Number two, he doesn't use the right technical terms for what a horizon is when you're in a ship that does not fly with the event horizon of the Earth. And he didn't know what any of those words were either. So my friend has concluded that he's probably a mind control victim in a program somewhere. That's what my friend concluded, and I hate to say it, that was my conclusion before my friend told me his. So that's it, guys. That's my conclusion, and that doesn't mean he didn't do some of the things he did, because here's the kicker on this. Of all the super soldier stuff I've been through and all these guys, and, I used to think none of them had done anything they said they did. Well, it turns out that maybe a fourth of what they talk about is real, actually real. And then the other 3/4 is all crazy stuff. So you can't ever trust a word that comes out of their mouth. And that's the bottom line. So I would say that possibly Randy Kramer did do some stuff. He was in the military. He did some things. I think they got a hold of him and really messed with him. I think he is, again, another super soldier mind control victim guy. And, but I find his stories absolutely fascinating. And I would love to have him on my show sometime. He refuses to talk to me. So, and that's another kicker for me, guys. If they won't come on my show, and I'm the person who put all these guys out there and got their names out there so they could be understood or heard or, whatever, I'm the lady who did it, you know? So why is it he won't talk to me? Of all people, I'm more understanding than anybody about anything that's ever happened to them. I mean, I know things about these guys that I can't even talk to you guys about, that I won't, because I absolutely love for them to have their privacy, but it's stranger than the truth that they think they're telling you. That is for sure. It's absolutely stranger. You wouldn't believe it. You just wouldn't believe it. I don't even believe it half the time. So bottom line here is, if he won't talk to me, won't come on my radio show, then there might be something amiss, because only the ones that are making up more than they can, keep their lies straight don't come on my show. The ones that are the real deal, they end up on my show. They really do.
What about Corey Good?
Oh, Corey will never talk to me. Oh, God. Let's see. Okay. First of all, I like Corey Good. In spite of the fact that he refuses to speak with me and that I was put on the Dark Alliance hit list. Does your audience know about the Dark Alliance hit list?
I don't think anybody does.
Oh, my God. Well, that's good, because in a nutshell, Bill Ryan God, this Corey thing is so convoluted. Back in 2013, a gentleman called me from Texas at the time, or he could have been the other guy calling me from New Mexico. I don't remember. Some guy called me. Carrie and Bill had told him to get a hold of me because of my conferences, that he could probably speak at them. They didn't know, but to call me, because I was the lady dealing with, the secret space program, super soldier kind of nefarious characters. So this guy calls me, tells me he's got a couple kids, a wife, blah, 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 used to be in IT, blah, blah, blah. He's giving me the story. And then at some point he says something about, how do I get my story out there? I want to be famous. Now, if anybody, during those years, I was taking 5 phone calls a week from people like this, at least 5, and I talked to them for at least 2 hours each. Okay, so we're talking at least 10 to 15 to 20 hours a week I was spending on the phone talking to these guys for 3 years. I finally had to stop doing it because it was getting insane, the amount of information I was getting and the amount of people calling me. So I finally just said, that's it, I'm done. And if you're good enough, you'll speak at my conference. If you're not, it's over, whatever. So I get this phone call from this guy, and the minute any one of them says to me at any point during our 2-hour or half-hour or whatever conversation, I want to get out there, I want to write a book, I want to be famous, I want to be in movies, I want to do this, I want to do that, I say, oh, it was great talking to you, and another time, give me a call, whatever, and I hang up. I really do. I always hung up. Because if they want to be famous, then there's something very wrong. It's a program. It's a program to make them get out there. They think they have something important to say. They think they're Jesus, whatever. And I'm not going to be the one helping them do that. The only people I ever really helped were the ones that said to me, is there anything you can do to make it stop? That's the first thing out of their mouth. If they're truly sincere, they want it to end. And number 2 is, I will tell my story on one condition, that if you think it's going to help other people and they won't end up in the same position I'm in, I will do that. But I'll only do it a couple times or one time. If they say that to me, they're in like Flynn. And I will take care of them. I will support them. I will do anything I can to help them. And I always did. Having said that, this person turned out to be what we think is Corey Good, that called me and said, I want to be famous. And he was referred to me by Carrie and Bill. And at that time, Carrie and Bill were dealing with him on their forum. And they didn't want to take him on because they were worried about his integrity as well. So years later, he gets involved with David Wilcock and takes him to the cleaners, basically, and goes on his wild ride. And then Bill Ryan from down in Ecuador, where he's living now, says, whoa, put the brakes on that one, David. This guy's a sham. He's a con artist. And so vicariously, I got involved in all this, and I said, yeah, I kind of remember this guy calling me, and I wouldn't have anything to do with him. And the next thing I know, Bill is going after him with Richard Dolan, and there's all kinds of things going on. And then a hit list comes up of all the people that are against Corey Goode. So, and I was like the third name on there, along with Carrie. And so Carrie and I were kind of like, oh, great. So it kind of put us in a bad light, like we absolutely, hated him or something. The bottom line to this whole thing is I never hated Corey. I've always actually thought his stories were fascinating. I don't always believe any of this stuff because I'm not one to fall for stick figure drawings at a conference in a story. I mean, I think it's great. I think you should get out there, tell your story and do whatever. But at the end of your presentation, to tell everybody that you're going to be the next way, the light, and you're the next, Jesus, basically is what he said at this conference down in 2014 down in LA. I was absolutely floored because I'm thinking, what has this guy got? And it's turned into a giant cult. Now, having said all that, I still think he's a contactee. I also think he's a mind control victim. I think he's a psyops by one of the groups, or one of the, nefarious dark groups, to see how gullible and how much he can control a certain segment of the UFO community. And I think they're laughing at us and laughing all the way to his bank because, yeah, he just put on a conference where I can tell he made, I crunch numbers pretty good since I'm a conference producer, and I figured he took home about $50,000. So that's nice. Must be nice,
We only got about 90 seconds here before we got to go to break, and I think this question will probably carry over into the next hour. Actually, I know it will. What about David Wilcock then, especially with a lot of the weird tales he is telling about his split with Gaia?
Boy, okay. Oh my God. Okay. I'm not going to say anything till after the break, because if I even start this one,
give us a little tease. You got about 40 seconds. Give us a tease. Come on.
A tease. Well, all I can tell you guys is this. I predicted the whole David Wilcock, Corey Goode, and Emery Smith blowout quite a while ago. And when that happened, the day that letter went up on Laura Eisenhower's page, when she posted it, within 30 minutes, my phone rang at least 25 to 30 times. My boss and I were in a meeting. I thought my father had died because my phone has never rang that much in my entire life. And it was everybody calling me to say, oh my God, you were right, and tell us what you know. And it was absolutely insanity. So there's your tease.
All right, that is absolutely perfect. Lorien Fenton is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. She will be speaking at the first annual Cari-Boo Paracon up here in British Columbia, September 28th through 30th. Her speech is the Friday night, so you're definitely going to want to come out and check that out. If you want tickets for the Cari-Boo Paracon, you go to questers.ca. That's questers.ca. Click on the fall conference. Get your tickets right now. We got another 30 minutes with Lorien. We're probably going to convince her to stick through the news as well. I think she will, because she's pretty awesome that way. And you're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back with more right after this. Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
The first annual Cari-Boo Paracon is happening September 28th to 30th in the 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Brought to you by the Canadian Society of Questers and Spaced Out Radio. Come listen to our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Elizabeth Anglin, Paisley Town, Mike Moran, Eric Cooper, and more. It's a 3-day supernatural adventure at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Tickets for the weekend are $150 Canadian. The Cari-Boo Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Find yourself constantly looking up in the sky, looking for answers? Have you had extraterrestrial contact? Are you an abductee? Looking for answers to your experiences? Hi there, I'm R. Keith Andrews, Spaced Out Radio's resident ET expert. Join me live the first Friday of every month where I take questions from the Spaced Out Radio chat room and help you understand those from the far-off world. It's 2 hours of knowledge every experiencer should listen to. Hope to see you there.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from UFO Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us and bring your questions for us to investigate right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
When it comes to the news, we look for the stories that the mainstream won't cover. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter. This is News Director Everett Thiemer. The Encounter is about the weird and strange stories that occur daily, and we scour the world looking to bring them to you. You can hear me with Dave Scott every Monday through Friday in our Encounter news segment. Read us online at spacedoutradio.com or check us out and give our Facebook page a like at SOR The Encounter. So come give The Encounter a read.
From the mile-high state of Colorado, sharing our signal around the world, I invite you to Spaced Out Sundays. Hi, I'm Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm closing out the week by taking you on a paranormal journey to the world of the weird. Ghosts, aliens, psychic phenomena, I will hit it all in your questions too. So let us highlight the paranormal for you. So come join me for Spaced Out Sundays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night, a lot of your questions get answered. Everybody's been asking me, when is Samantha Mowat returning to Spaced Out Radio? The answer is tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. We welcome in everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network and all around the world on Deep Talk Radio. And don't forget, you can check out our archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Chiches Bayo. Chiches Bayo is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, shop at our store, read up on the encounter online, and so much more. Don't forget, you can go to questers.ca, questers.ca right now. You need a vacation, so come on up to the first annual Cari-Boo Paracon, presented by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers, September 28th through 30th, just 3.5 weeks away. We definitely want you here. We got some great speakers coming at you. So go to questers.ca, click on the fall conference, get your tickets right now. One of those speakers, one of our featured guests, is Lorien Fenton from the Fenton Perspective. And Lorien will be up here at the Cari-Boo Paracon presenting on the Friday night. So far, the topic of super soldiers is leading the way by almost 4 to 1. By almost 4 to 1.
4 to 1. Oh my God. Okay, I'm definitely going to have to do it then. I might open with just a little bit about me for 10 minutes and then go into all that, because it doesn't help to know about the super soldiers unless you know a little bit about me first. So I guess we'll do that.
Well, yeah, do it that way.
Okay,
absolutely,
that's what we're doing.
That way. All right. So
I'm excited.
Thank you to the Spaced Out Radio audience for choosing that part. We really appreciate you voting in on that. Lorien, right before the break, we were talking about, there's been some drama between, Corey Good, David Wilcock, and David Wilcock's
Emery
departure.
Smith. Don't forget Emery Smith.
And Emery Smith, yes, and his departure from Gaia. So for people who don't know what Gaia is, explain what Gaia is first and foremost.
Oh my God. Okay. Gaia TV is used to be a very independent, documentary TV, small studio in Denver. I think it's in Boulder now. I thought they started in Denver. It was owned by Meredith. I can't remember Meredith's last name, and her husband. And then when they got divorced, a guy that's very wealthy came in, bought him up, and started selling his athletic parts, started developing the athletic, the yoga, the aerobics, the health and well-being, and the eating and nutrition aspect of Gaia TV, and bought a bigger studio and started promoting that type of shows to other internet and regular cable television companies. One of the companies that bought up their health department and is still working with them is Comcast Networks or Xfinity, depending on where you are in the world. They're pretty much out here on the West Coast, and I'm not sure if they've made it to the Midwest or the East Coast yet, but they're a huge company, huge cable internet ISP company. And television, and they broker everybody, History Channel, Sci-Fi, you name it, all your local stations, what have you. So Gaia TV got a huge influx of money at the year after Meredith and her husband sold the company, And the gentleman that owns it's a billionaire. And there's been a lot of crazy stuff going on with Gaia TV itself. And now there's two sides to the whole David Wilcock, what I call the David Wilcock, Corey Goode, and Emery Smith ejection. Recently, just a couple days ago, I heard that Emery Smith has not left Gaia TV. I hear that he has some shows left that are going to be playing there, and he may still be involved with them. So, whatever Emery's doing, it's very different than what Corey and David are doing right now. And let's see, where was I going with this? Okay, so two sides to the David Wilcock, and I'll call it the David Wilcock Corey Goode ejection or whatever. First of all, what people are not realizing is that I believe that Gaia TV, and I heard this from a source within Gaia TV, I don't know if it's true. It's as much as they could tell me, and it wasn't really meant at the time to be involved with all this. This was over about a year ago, and I ran into them at a conference, and they worked for Gaia at the time. I'm not even sure if they're still working for them, but they were telling me the inside scoop was that people were starting to get tired of cosmic disclosure because they weren't happy with what David was saying and what Corey Goode was saying, and Emery Smith had just joined them talking or whatever, and they weren't happy with that either. The subscribers were dropping. The people that were subscribers to like the Health and Nutrition and the George Norrie show and some of their other shows are kind of dropping their subscriptions because of David bringing Corey and these people on. Now, the reason he said they were having problems with his show was because people did not like the fact that at least George Norrie would get up there and say, okay, you're a researcher, you do this, you do that. What's your opinion of this? And blah, blah, blah. Whereas Corey Goode and David were saying, this is the way it is, and this is what happened to me, and this is all true, and, we're the way and the light, okay? And people were not happy with that. And a lot of people loved it. They were subscribing because of David and Corey and all that. But then there were a lot of people that were going, why is Gaia TV letting these charlatans on their network? And it was they were getting, a little pushback from their subscribers about it. And so there was a little dissent within Gaia about the whole, do we keep David Wilcock and, we need some kind of fresh stuff. And I think this is when Emery Smith got brought into the fray, is because they were trying to work a way around getting this all to be more vetted, more established, more real. It's hard to sell the public on what I call comic books and stick figures and, fancy flash videos about your experience in space. It's wonderful at a conference. Don't get me wrong, folks. I love to hear about people's experiences. I give them an hour and a half to talk about it. I want to see the flashy videos. I want to see what you think your aliens look like. And that's the whole point. A person that's an experiencer gets up on a stage and they say, this is my experience. It could be real. It could all be in my head. It could be whatever. I think it was real because I experienced it, and I'd like to share that with you right now. And that's what they do. They don't get up there and say that they are Enoch from the Bible and that 42 emissaries from another 5 different galactic empires have told him he's going to be the answer to our problems here on Earth. Okay. See, it gets so convoluted when that stuff starts happening, and Guy was getting blowback from it. They were starting to go, these guys, who knows what they are, So that's their side of it. And I got to understand, as a business person, you've got to start questioning what's happening when your ratings start to drop and you're losing subscribers. Okay. That's number one. And this is the part that David never talks about in his letter, his resignation letter, is that maybe there was something else going on and he hasn't talked about it yet. Now, he may not have ever known. Okay, I'm throwing that out there. He may not have ever known this was all going on. I heard this from somebody that worked there, and it could all be lies. I don't know, but it sounded pretty sincere to me, and it sounded like he knew what he was talking about. Okay,
including Lucifer's involvement.
Well, now he didn't bring that up. I have other friends that have brought that up. That's a very interesting point that David brought up in his resignation letter about the fact that he believes that the owner of the company is a Luciferian and a practicing Satanist. Is that correct? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah,
the
that's
letter.
what I heard too.
Yeah, I don't remember the whole thing, but that is probably a possibility. I can't say it is or it isn't, but I can tell you guys this. I was very much involved with a group of people back 7 years ago that were fighting the satanic regime that was involved with the Bilderbergers and a bunch of other people. And I was having them quite a bit on my radio shows. And it turns out that Denver, Colorado, and that whole area, Colorado Springs, Boulder, what have you, is a deep-seated center for satanic ritual abuse and their kind of meetings that they have, or covens, or whatever they do. I don't even know what they do, but whatever it is, they celebrate their high holidays, and many children have gone missing from the area. That's all I can say. I don't have the facts in front of me. I don't have it all because this was years ago. I was doing that kind of research into it, but it is a hotbed of satanic ritual abuse. So I wouldn't, who knows what this guy does for a living? All I know is he's a billionaire, and he could be Catholic for all I know. I don't know. And I'm not going to say anything because I honestly don't know. But I can tell you all, I know for a fact that area is a hotbed of it. So I'm going to leave it at that, and we'll see what happens out of, many, many more months of crazy stories to come out of Gaia TV about that, I'm sure. And I'm sure if you had Patty Greer on your show lately.
I have not. I had her on about 6-7 months ago.
Yeah, you should have her on in the next month or so because she's got some new information. They're suing her for saying that they're satanic.
Yeah,
I know. It's pretty wild, isn't it?
It is, but I also have to look at it, too. Is that a topic on assumptions that I want to, drench my audience with?
Yeah, that's true. Do you really want to do that? But I'm just saying, Dave, it wouldn't, let's just put it this way. It wouldn't surprise me if it was true. I wouldn't say to you, Dave, I'm so shocked. I can't believe it. It'd be like saying that MUFON's Luciferian, that would shock the heck out of me. I just don't see it happening. But a company in that area, the way they've been treating their employees, if the stories are true, and I'm not even going to go there tonight, but you guys can all look it up, look at how the employees have got a big old beef going with them. Who knows? I mean, I just don't know. So anyhow, getting back to David, after his resignation, my phone literally rang like, I thought my father had died. I really did. And so I'm answering the phone. I'm fielding all these calls. And it was all my friends calling to say, God, you were right. You were so right. And here's what happened. About 3 years ago at Contact in the Desert, I got a download. I don't know where it came from, but I was standing by the Gaia booth, and I'm sitting there, and this was even before Patty Greer had told me what was going on. This is before everybody started telling me all the Gaia stories. I'm sitting there on this rock wall by the Gaia. They have a big tent. It says Gaia on it. They're filming Linda Moulton Howe, I think, at the time. And I remember sitting there, and I got this whole download about David Wilcock. And Corey Good wasn't even around at the time, but it was just mostly David Wilcock. And it said, and they basically said other people too were going to have a big battle with Gaia TV, and that Gaia TV was going to suffer greatly because of it. And that's all I knew. That's the information I got, and I got it, encapsulated within, 3 seconds. So I just knew because everybody kept saying, "Well, what do you think of Gaia TV?" I said, "Oh no," I said, "Don't get too involved. Don't go working for him." I said, I don't see things ending well for them. That's what I've been telling people for 3 years. I thought it was going to happen in 18 months. Well, it took longer. It took twice as long to happen. And so that's why my phone was ringing, because Melinda knew what I had said, Misha knew, Robert knew, Debbie knew. I mean, everybody knew, because I had gone up to them all at that event and said, "You're not going to believe what I just got, this hit I just got." And I told them all. And, for years afterwards, I kept saying, "You just wait." And then I stopped saying it about a year ago because I thought I was totally wrong and so full of it. That's why my phone went crazy when it did go down, because then it was like, you were right. So getting back to David, okay, because I'm just saying I had a psychic hit that came true about the whole Guy and David Wilcock thing. Getting back to David, I think David, he had a good thing with them, and they may have been treating him in a way that he didn't like being treated. And I can't blame him for that. But also there's the other side, as I was saying earlier in the show, there's the other side to the story. And that is, if they're losing subscribers because of the show, then they have to take action too. So, it really comes down to, was David a good thing for them at the time? He was the hot item. Yes. Was he maybe starting to falter because there wasn't a whole lot of stuff he could do to bring in there that had some real substance to it? You got to give George Norrie a pat on the back. When he does his show, it's, beyond belief. And he's basically saying, these people are telling you what they believe, just like I do at a conference. This is what they believe. We're not sitting there saying, I am the God, God's chosen person to lead you out of the UFO misery, And, so you gotta take it for what it is.
Lorien, I'm listening to you here, and it's a lot of paranormal drama that it has infected the ghost hunting community. It has infected the UFO community, the Bigfoot community, and I realize there's drama in absolutely every place and every workplace, every topic. I mean, you just have to learn how to dodge it. But why, when it comes to UFOs, does this drama seem to affect the truth more and more as to what is going on?
Well, see, that's where I was going to go with it next. That's the whole bottom line here is, once people start telling the truth in some ways, it can be affected on many levels. How do we know, first of all, that Gaia TV isn't a CIA operation? Does it have to be Luciferian? Maybe they're just there to keep everybody, take them to a certain point and let them say so much, and then, oops, sorry, can't do that, and we'll come up with any excuse to get rid of you at that point. How do we know that, they don't want the truth out about Corey Goode being a mind control contactee? Maybe Corey's going to at some point say that in his, he did actually. I got to give him this. He did say at one point that he felt like he was a mind control victim, and he was heading down that road at one point, and then he got kind of sidetracked. But, how do we know that it isn't them squelching the truth when you get to a certain point with it? And why, and here's, Dave, here's the part that really bothers me. I just sit here and I just kind of go out of my mind over it. Why would anybody watch a show like that in the first place? It's just put there to mind control you into believing what these people want you to believe, okay? If you want to be a cult follower, then fine, watch the show. But I don't walk away when I watch Killjoys on Friday night. I don't walk away becoming a cult follower. I just had a good time and I'm entertained. Okay? I don't become brainwashed into thinking that's the way it is. And that's why I'm starting to wonder if the whole Luciferian thing isn't a cover for a big CIA op. Think about that for a while, everybody. There's so many people that think David Wilcock and Corey Goode are the next best things in sliced bread, and they follow them around like a cult. You go to these conferences, and they can't say anything wrong. I told you guys on this show, I believe it was this show, about waiting in line in 2015 to go see Corey Goode speak, and I said one little thing, a negative about him, and everybody behind me and in front of me almost killed me. I mean, it was ugly. It was like a mob scene. My friend Nick had to grab my arm and pull me away. I mean, it was like, I'm thinking to myself, if this is how the UFO community, no one's thinking for themselves anymore. If this is how the community is going to react to one guy with an armful of stories, I'll tell you what, I'm going to get up there tomorrow on a stage and start saying, yeah, I was taken by a ship and I went up and there are these pink mermaids with 3 breasts that took care of me and they tell me I'm the next generation of, Mary Magdalene. And, I mean, where is the discernment anymore? And this is what I think the CIA, the dark ops, and all these people, including Gaia TV, are banking on, that we're stupid enough that we'll pay them $7.99 a month to watch this BS instead of listening to Dave Scott's radio show or Lorien Fenton's radio show and getting the truth from both sides.
We got better hair as well. David Wilcock has terrible hair. Terrible hair.
Oh, God, don't even get me started on that. Oh, my God.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I'm not saying that in the early days his books are fabulous. If you guys want to read a good book and get an idea about what quantum physics are compared to consciousness and brought in a great way that you can understand a lot easier than you can understand Nassim Harriman's books, by the way, then read David's first 2 books because they were really good at the time. They were fabulous. But that doesn't mean you have to follow this guy around like he's the answer to the universe. And by the way, 2 years ago at Contact in the Desert, he did a whole paranoia, that everybody's out to get us speech. And I've been doing that same speech, and so has everybody in the conspiracy community for 20 years. So basically, they're after him and they're going to kill him. So he's going to talk about the deep, dark state and the Bilderbergers for once. Geez, big deal. Everybody else has been doing that for 20 years, and you got to sit there and listen to that? I couldn't believe he actually did it. I was like, really? Anyhow, I don't do well with these guys only because, and not because of them personally, but the fact that our community, David, is dumb enough to allow these people to have that kind of say and pull in our community. That's what makes me crazy. Why aren't I revered like that, Not that I want to be, but the point is somebody's out there barking that you got to think for yourself and listen to your own voice and do what's right for you in the community and believe what you see and don't care what anybody thinks about you otherwise is, not being heard at all. And then you got people like that wacko crackers that's up there saying, I'm Enoch of the Bible now. That's Corey Good,
I hear you there. I hear you there, and I just want to give you a timeline. We only got about 4.5 minutes left. This has just flown right by. In regards to everything, when you look at the giant picture, all right, who can people trust right now? Because people aren't trusting David Wilcock. They aren't trusting Corey Good. They are not trusting To the Stars or Tom DeLonge. They are not trusting MUFON. Who do people trust right now in research of these topics? I try and tell people, go to the independents, the Peter Davenports, the Grant Camerons of the world. Who are you?
Absolutely.
That's what I would tell you.
The first person you trust is yourself. That's what I tell everybody all the time. Whenever I'm around them at a conference or whatever, they go, oh, yeah, so-and-so's so great. I go, yeah, what's so great about them? They have a story. That's wonderful. I love it. I'm glad they have their story. Everybody should have a story. But it's not your story. What's your story? Okay? Why are you involved in the whole UFO community in the first place? You got to ask yourself, why do you spend money to go to conferences? Why do you listen to Coast every night? Why do you listen to Dave Scott every night? Why do you listen to me? Why do you listen to anybody who's talking about this stuff? What has happened to you that makes you intrigued by all this? Is it because this is the next Holy Grail or it's a Super Bowl like Grant Cameron talks about? If we ever figure out the communication between extraterrestrials and the human race, that is like talking to God. And that's what you should be more concerned about, is how you can make that connection with the extraterrestrials or God or angels or whatever it is that you're communicating with, and you have that communion. not anybody else, not the guy on the stage. It's great to listen to people's other stories. I think they're fabulous. I think Dave Scott's story is great. I think Samantha Mott's story is great. I love hearing you guys. That's why I go to the conferences, to hear other people's stories. But I don't go there to find somebody to follow around, to think that they have the answers, because they don't. They have no more answers than you. You have all the answers. They're in your heart. They're in your head. And you can find them yourself. And that's what I tell everybody, Dave. And you can listen to anybody at a conference, and a lot of people will tell you great stuff, and then stuff will resonate with you, and sometimes it won't. I cry at some of them, and others I just go, oh, that's an interesting story. It doesn't resonate with me because that's not the kind of contact I've had. But that's okay. Everybody doesn't have to resonate with everything, but you have to resonate with yourself and your God or your aliens or your UFO people or whatever you want to call them, your angels, like I do. And this has to be what you're more concerned about on a daily basis, is making that communion. That's what I tell people. More important than even going to a conference, I swear to God. But I love my conferences.
I love your conferences too, and I'm excited. And everybody needs to get a hold of Lorien and find out where her conferences are, because they are a great weekend with great information. Lorien, we got about 90 seconds here before we got to bring in Everett Thiemer for the news. Let everybody know where they can find your show, your conferences, and more about you.
Okay, go to LorienFenton.com. That's Lorien. Fenton, F as in Frank, ENTON.com. The website's getting redone right now as we speak, so it's not really up to snuff, but my radio shows are on there where you can listen to me. And I am now starting a new conference, and I will announce it tonight for the first time. It's called UFO MegaCon. It's a 7-day event that's going to be March 24th through 31st in Laughlin, Nevada. And my new business partner is Bob Brown of the old International UFO Congress. So we're getting together, and we're going to blow up UFO Con. It's now UFO MegaCon. So I do hope you guys are all interested in that. There'll be a lot of information out about it in the future.
I'm excited about it. I'm very excited about it. And, you know, even if I'm not allowed to be a speaker this time around, you don't want to wear me out, I definitely am going to try and get down there and broadcast from there, because I just want to be a part of it.
Oh, yeah, we've got to have Dave Scott and Spaced Out Radio down there.
For sure.
Of course.
For sure we do.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll be sitting in a lonely, lonely hotel room broadcasting while everybody's out partying.
Oh, heck no. We're going to have an area for broadcasters.
Perfect.
So you'll be there. Yeah, Perfect. You bet.
Lorien,
it's going to be fun.
You hold on. We got to get to the news, because you're going to stick around and have some fun with us. Here we go.
This is the winter of our lives. We come to play the final scene. The curtains closing in the darkness. We expose what lies beneath.
It's time to enter the encounter, where we get into our news section of the night with our director, Everett Thiemer, taking a look around the world at all of the news of the day. The weird, the strange, the WTF. Right now, you can find our stories at facebook.com/SOR The Encounter. They will be moving over to spacedoutradio.com under the news section here very, very soon. Mr. Thiemer, we are joined by Lorien Fenton, who is sticking around for the news. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Hi, Lorien.
Hey there. I'm chewing on barbecue potato chips.
She's like, who the hell is this guy? Who's this Everett Thiemer? I heard he has nice hair.
You know, most people don't know who I am, and that's okay.
All right. All right. My friend, it's been an interesting day in the news. I'm not sure if you heard the news from up here in British Columbia, but Sasquatch researcher Todd Standing had his case on trying to get Bigfoot protected thrown out of court. It will not see a day in court, and he also has to pay the lawyer's fees for the provincial government of British Columbia. Basically, he was told by a judge, you're wasting time, and we're not going to see this case. And by the way, you wasted the government's money and time as well on lawyers, so you got to pay for that.
Yeah, isn't that don't you think that might be a little bit of a jab at him to kind of put a stop to this? Because I read the ruling, and they make a good point. I think using the judgment or the ideas that they set out in their ruling, I think his lawsuit should be halted.
Well, you know what? I agree too, and I think, and Lorien, do you know who Todd Standing is?
I do. I saw a little report on him a little while ago. Isn't he the guy that's got the videotape of the Bigfoots up there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I think if it was anybody else outside of Todd Standing, I think this may have a little bit of some pull, because Todd comes across as being a very, very sane individual and knowledgeable. But when he gets rambling, he says some wild and wacky stuff. I mean, he goes to peak woo in 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds or less.
Well,
he's like a Bugatti that way.
He is. But here's my question. What is he actually trying to do in court? What is the whole thing? Is trying to make Bigfoot a endangered species so no one can shoot it?
An endangered and protected species. He's tried it in Alberta. He has now failed in British Columbia, and they've tried in California as well.
And they're never going to succeed, and here's why. He can't take it to a court. He is wasting their time because we have no evidence they exist.
Exactly. But he's saying that he does have proof, and that's the issue.
Okay, and his proof is the videos.
Videos, hair, and scat samples.
Oh, great. Does he have DNA?
Well, doesn't poo have DNA in it?
Well, did he get a DNA sample to submit to, anthropologist or whatever who decides there's a new species of animal in, our scientific, community?
I have no idea. Everett?
Well, that brings up a good point, that if he hasn't had these tested, or if they've been tested and they come back as some known animal, what is he trying to protect if he can't prove they exist? The videos, while interesting, don't really prove anything.
Absolutely. See, that's the problem. And I know exactly why the judge is pissed. Because if I was him, first thing I'd be doing is I'd be going to, who's the professor at Idaho University that's a Bigfoot guy? I can't remember his name now.
Jeff Meldrum.
Thank you. I'd be with Meldrum's doorstep with all my scat and what have you. Hair, and we'd be running down to a scientific lab, and we would have DNA analysis done on this, and then we would send out a paper to every scientist that works with that type of species, whether it be monkey or bear or, whatever it's related to, and say, we have discovered a new type of species. We would like to present our papers to you at your next biggest conference, and we'll go there, we'll do that, and we'll make this an official new species and have it recognized by every scientific organization, and then you can go to a court, and the scientific community will be behind you, and they'll send all their lawyers with you, and it'll get taken care of, just like they do for coyotes, wolves, or what have you.
Well, this is the official report from BC Supreme Court Justice Kenneth Ball. He said he found no reasonable cause for the lawsuit and said the court had no power to compel the province of British Columbia to conduct scientific investigations of its flora and fauna. The judge also dismissed the claim that Mr. Standing's rights were being violated, stating that the province of British Columbia has never placed restrictions on his Bigfoot-related interests. So here he was claiming that he was fighting for Bigfoot, but it sounds like in this court case, it is all about Todd Standing.
Yeah, doesn't it?
But, they said that his rights, I believe what I read was his rights aren't being infringed upon as they would be regarding religious or political ideals. What are his rights, or what rights is he asserting that he has regarding Bigfoot?
Well, and Judge Ball also said, not revealing specific locations where Sasquatch sightings occur is the decision of the plaintiff and in no way infringes upon his ability to espouse his beliefs regarding Sasquatch existence. So the judge here is not throwing out the case because he's not sitting here saying that Bigfoot isn't real. What he's saying is, Mr. Standing, you got a weak case. This isn't about you. You know what I'm saying? And it looks like Todd Standing tried to make it about him again.
Yeah. So read that part again at the very beginning about scientific what? I want to hear that because that says a lot. That first statement you made.
It says British Columbia Supreme Court Justice Kenneth Ball found no reasonable cause for the lawsuit and said the court had no power to compel the province of British Columbia to conduct scientific investigations of its flora and fauna.
Oh, he was trying to sue them into doing the research for him. That's what he was trying to do. He's trying to get them to pay for it all.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. See, that this shows me the guy's a total idiot because the first thing you do is you do it yourself. You get with Meldrum and you go to the university and you say, we have something we need tested, and they do it for Meldrum because he's their go-to guy there.
He did. If you look at that latest documentary, and I think, Everett, you've seen it, where you have Todd Standing bringing in the late Dr. John Bindernagel and Dr. Jeff Meldrum into Alberta. Well, the first place he takes him is, he says, we're going to go up here where there's some really cool carvings, but it's not my Sasquatch hotspot. He literally says this during the documentary. He goes, next time you come, I'll take you to my hotspot where I'm in contact with like 5 of them. Well, why are you taking them to a dead zone?
That's ridiculous.
You got to watch it. It's on Netflix. Discovering Sasquatch, I believe it's called.
Oh my God! Okay, I'll watch it.
You got to watch it. It's pretty screwed up, and literally the first half an hour of the show is watching Todd run through bushes and run through creeks, and it's, to me, ridiculous. But and it's funny. I have tried to get Todd Standing on this show for about 2-3 years. And we have talked, not on the phone, but via email and via messenger. And it just doesn't seem to be working. And after reading this lawsuit, I'm not sure I would want to have him on. I'm really not. I mean, I find this disappointing.
It doesn't make any sense to me. It's not a person who's thinking clearly or logically is what it's all I'm going to say about this guy, because again, it sounds like a sensationalized, some people just think what they have to say or do is so important that they've got to take it to court and get the attention. So that's what it's starting to sound like to me.
But do you think
not
that
really about Bigfoot?
Do you think that in the long run or the big picture, getting that attention could be good for the Sasquatch community?
It could, if it was being done in a way that made people not laugh at us, or whoever's, because that's basically what he's doing. He's making a laughing stock out of himself.
Well, he's essentially brought a case with absolutely no evidence other than his opinions.
Exactly. So again, then you got a bunch of people snickering at this guy, and then that just makes us all look bad, It's the same thing in the UFO community. I mean, I was a psychic, tarot card reader and all this stuff when I was younger. I've seen ghosts, the whole bit, and there's no way in heck I would go to a court saying, you have to, go to this house and make sure it's not haunted or whatever, because then everybody would be snickering at me for 25 years about how stupid that was. I mean, didn't he think this through? This is just making everybody look bad in the whole Sasquatch community.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Dave, you'll have to forgive me because I'm not sure, but has Meldrum or that professor from New Mexico that was involved in some research ever weighed in on any of the Todd Standing cases?
Meldrum does at the end of it, but he's gone pretty silent on that. He's gone pretty silent.
Does he say that Todd has some actual evidence that he would like to study?
If you
I
look
don't
at
think
it,
he's ever said
it
that.
almost seems like it's forced, in my opinion.
Oh, okay. So it's not really a endorsement of Todd. It's more like, well, we'll wait and see kind of thing, and maybe there's something to it, maybe there isn't. I'm assuming. Yeah. Yeah, because once you're involved in a documentary, it's pretty hard to say something bad about the person you're in the documentary for.
Yeah, and I can imagine that Meldrum would want to distance himself a bit from Todd Standing at this point, or actually for quite a while now.
Yeah, I would think so too. Now, isn't there an issue? Don't we have any proof at all anywhere besides this supposed scat and hair that he has?
Well,
Isn't there anybody else?
Not really. I mean, there's so many researchers who have the same thing. And David Paulides has tested with his group.
And what did it turn out to be? Bear?
No. Some of it actually turned out to be an unknown species, but it never got much play.
Well, see, now that's what should be going to court is somebody who has an unknown species. You got to get a scientific paper out to the community. It's got to be published in a magazine somewhere, or at least their journal. And it has to be recognized by the scientific community as an unknown species. And the possibility that it could be Bigfoot does exist. And that has to be at least at that level, or a court's just going to laugh you out of it. I would never have gone to court in the first place. The first place I would jump into if I was a Bigfoot researcher, which I may be in my old age, who knows, if that's what I was doing, I would be hitting the scientific community up like every other day. That would be who I'd be knocking on the door of.
But isn't there something a little bit wrong with the scientific community in that I believe it was like about 3 years ago, there was a woman, I believe from one of the universities in Texas, who was making the rounds of the different talk shows, talking about an upcoming study that was going to be released that was going to be groundbreaking and prove the existence of some form of Sasquatch. And it was university-based and backed and all of this.
I believe that was Dr. Melba Ketchum, was it not?
It could
think
be,
it was.
But then it turned out that there were so many flaws in the study that it was unreliable at best.
Well, then, so flaws in the study, it's pretty hard to study something we can't find. That's number one. The only way you can study a Bigfoot is to get scat or hair or some kind of DNA sample. That's it. And the best you can hope for is an unknown species until it's actually captured, caught, or we have a corpse of some sort. And if she was smart, she would be getting together with Meldrum and anybody else that is scientifically leaning towards their research in this field and get with them. Not Kiwani, because I love Kiwani and the psychic Sasquatch people. I think they're marvelous, but they go at it in a completely non-scientific manner. And there's nothing you can...
That's a bunch of incense and peppermints there.
Incense and peppermint.
Ooh, peppermint.
I don't think there's as much peppermint as there is stuff that's rolled in rolling
They're
papers.
going around. I mean, if they had their choice, Sasquatch would be vote. Would it be voter eligible? I mean, honestly.
Honestly,
I love
think
Kiwani
he should
too.
be. I
love
he should
Kiwani.
be.
Anyways, we're going to wrap this up. Next story, Everett.
Little SOR is getting ready for kindergarten, isn't he?
Yes, he starts on Tuesday.
Oh, then you will either appreciate or be horrified by this one. At a kindergarten welcoming ceremony in China, the students and parents were treated to a pole dancer performing for them.
I saw that.
What?
And yeah, a pole dancer wearing a crop top and tight black shorts performed some pole dancing routines during a kindergarten welcoming ceremony for a school.
Well, that's
nice. It turns out, surprisingly, that many of the parents were horrified and wanted refunds from the school. So at this point, many have asked for refunds, and the administrator of the school there has been terminated.
As they should. Whose brilliant idea was this?
Yeah, was she the mother of one of the kids?
Well, it appears that the pole dancing school that performed for this may have lined the pockets a bit of the school principal, because outside of the school there were advertisements and billboards or like little poster boards for classes available at this pole dancing school.
Okay, now I'm totally confused. Is this a kindergarten in a pole dancing studio, or is this a pole dancing studio next door to a kindergarten? I mean,
this is just a pole dancing studio that came to the school to perform for the welcoming ceremony of the children.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, and this was in China.
Yes, surprisingly. I mean,
I didn't think they had it there.
I would expect that in Kentucky, wouldn't you, Dave?
Oh.
I would say Arkansas, but that's me.
Arkansas. Okay, yeah. Well, you get my drift here. I mean, it's like China. I didn't even know they allowed pole dancing in China, to be honest with you.
It's surprisingly inappropriate, isn't it?
Well, at least she kept a tradition and had the ultra-high stiletto heels on.
Oh, well, of course.
Oh, she did? Oh, I haven't seen the pictures yet. Oh, my God. Oh, my God, this is hysterical.
Oh, yeah. Thank you to Jeff for posting the pictures at #SpacedOutRadio on Twitter. And, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, this is on looks like a gymnasium floor.
Yeah. And it's essentially just like a flagpole that she was, like a portable flagpole that she was dancing around. But just the idea of something like that seeming to be appropriate really for any school or any school-age child. I mean, that's...
Now, I got to say one thing. Maybe the guy, I'm just in the guy who hired these people's, in his defense, maybe he thought it was more like the Olympic kind of girls thing where they're wearing, like a gymnastics outfit and they're doing some moves that are more gymnast style than the stripper style, maybe he thought that's the show he was getting,
It is
Never know.
It is funny that you say that, though, because I guess some of the more laid-back parents that weren't quite as upset about this did make a comment or two about it potentially being an Olympic sport one day.
Absolutely, because I've read about that, too, because in Australia it's huge, and they have, these pole dancing competitions and the whole bit, and, who knows where it's going to end up. Ballroom dancing made it into the Summer Olympics, if I remember correctly.
I have no idea.
Pole dancing is a lot different than ballroom dancing. I mean, pole dancing, by its very nature, is suggestive. And I just don't see that. I don't see that being mainstreamed. You know what?
I'm going to stick up for it here. I'm going to keep going with my side of this just for yucks, okay? I was in Las Vegas last week, which was where I got my cold flying home. And I was in the front row at the original Cirque show called Mystère. Have you guys heard about it?
I've seen it.
Yeah.
You've seen it. Okay. All the pole dancing guys in the middle of the show?
Yes.
They're going up and down the poles. They're doing all this gymnastics. I'm just saying, maybe that type of gymnastics event is what this guy was thinking he was getting. I'm just throwing that out there because, yeah.
Could very well be.
He may have gotten duped.
I'll let you think that, but I don't think that that's what he expected he was getting.
Me either. We're gonna go to the thought of the day right now. Pole dancing at kindergarten. My goodness. I cannot believe that. I cannot believe that. Why didn't that happen today at orientation?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Dave, you were looking for that at your school, right?
Never happened. Never happened. Today's Thought of the Dave, as we do it every day, we post a question on my Facebook page, and it goes to our Twitter, is about UFOs. And we love reading your audience responses on the air. So today's Thought of the Dave is this. Tell me about your best UFO sighting. And we got some good ones. Lorien and Everett. I think you're going to be happy with these. I really
Nice.
do. All right, let's start off with Kevin. He actually messaged me privately about this and has become a very big fan of the show recently. So, Kevin, thank you so much for sending this in. And he's a fellow Canadian, so we're waving the flag here. Go Maple Leaf. Not the Maple Leafs, though. He says, my experience when I was about 16 years old in my hometown of Dunham, Quebec. I was jamming with some guitars and my best pal Elliot when the whole sky lit up before us. Like it was daytime for just a few seconds. And we looked, and there was this large mass, basically a supernova of into space. We looked at each other and ran to my folks' house. For a long time, my friend didn't want to talk about it. But 20 years later, and he finally admits seeing it with me. I've woken up a few times on my bedroom floor completely nude several times, and I've suffered from sleep paralysis since I was about 15, except my paralysis usually involves the presence of grays. I hate it. Tough time sleeping at night most nights. Now my son, who is 10, is dealing with it, and he came to me with it and asked if this had ever happened to me.
Wow.
Yes. He continues. He goes, my heart sunk. Then he tells me about how he can control his dreams, and I'm thinking, there's something going on. So I'm telling my brother about this, who lives out in British Columbia, and he starts telling me how he's able to control his dreams since he was a kid, and that has led to astral projecting. Like, this family is connected. I may have to get Kevin on the air with this.
I want to hear more about this.
Yeah, I do too. I think this is an interesting story. And, that's kind of like how I started out my radio show on Wednesday nights with Inception. I started doing it with people that just were like, they'd get a hold of me by email and say, I've got the craziest story. And I call them up and say, why not tell it on air? You don't even have to use your real name, And sure enough, I'd get these amazing stories. So I bet you Kevin's got a real gem for you, Dave.
Yeah, I'm going to have to talk to him about this. We may need him on the air. Let's get to another one. Cody says, I saw a UFO over Pax River Naval Air Base from my front porch one summer. My mother called out for someone to come look at the craft. It was bright red. A bright red light that had multiple colors rotating around the center of it. The craft moved in a T pattern, moved up, down, left, then right, then proceeded to fly away at a frightening speed. Tina says, Mount Shasta, circa 1997 or so, just a few months ago, when my... just a few months ago, when my boyfriend and I watched for hours helicopters rendezvous with a stationary orb thing that was near a Coast Guard station, and a second craft was like a drone or something that was watching the activity over Bodega Bay, California. It must have been there for several hours, but they were the ones that stood out the most. She goes, something
Okay,
is happening
I've got
here.
to say something about this. Bodega Bay is right near me. Near me.
All right.
You go straight out from Petaluma, and you end up at Bodega Bay. Okay? That's also where they filmed The Birds. That's, the Alfred Hitchcock, The Birds. Now, I'm going to say something I've never said on radio before. And I sure as hell hope the people that told me don't come after me with pickaxes. There is a base, I'm not going to say what kind, up in this area north of me that would make total sense that there are helicopters communing with those ships out there in the bay.
Wow.
Okay, that's all I can say. All right?
We got time for one more here. This is Debbie. She says, the one I saw 6 years ago, tree level in Kentucky. I saw a tall shadow overshadow my street light travel across, and I apologize, I read these cold. I first saw a tall shadow that overshadowed my streetlight travel across the side of my yard, then under the deck I was standing on. I had no clue what it was, then looked south of me and noticed a big orange ball that was coming towards me. And then she goes on to say, I was in awe standing there wondering what it was, and that no one else saw it or reported it. It got closer. It was tree level, gliding slowly over my house. It felt really odd, and it was long and tall, no sound, and it honestly felt very peaceful and very spiritual. It had 5 lights, one blue in color, and may have many more. And no, this isn't a YouTube or book story. Need some periods in there. My red pen wants to come out on that one. Lorien Fenton, thank you so much for being on Spaced Out Radio tonight.
Oh, it's been a blast. Thank you.
All right, Everett Themer, where can people find the encounter now and in the near future?
For right now, they can find it at facebook.com/SOR The Encounter online, but it will be moving shortly to spacedoutradio.com under the news section.
Perfect. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you tomorrow night, Ev.
Thank you.
All right. Tomorrow night on the show, Samantha Mowett's long-awaited return is here. Yes, I think she is the best-kept secret in ufology, and she's back only on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Don't forget, you can also check out questers.ca. Click on the fall conference right now to get your tickets for the first annual Cari-Boo Paracon, presented by Spaced Out Radio, September 28th through 30th, as well as the Canadian Society of Questers. Lorien Fenton, who you heard tonight, along with Grant Cameron, Ross Allison, and David Weatherly, are our featured speakers. So I hope you come on up. I want to shake your hand and party with you. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everyone listening in at home, in your cars, at work, wherever you may be. Big thank you to everybody on Spreaker for some awesome questions and participation. Thanks to everybody on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio and the Veterans Club, including the return of Mr. Cardwell in the SOR Space Travelers Club on Facebook. Thank you so much for sharing the show, doing your part to make us bigger and better every single night. Because together, my friends,
stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching.
We own the night. I will talk to you in 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Have a good one. See you tomorrow. Good night.